gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hey, what is happening, YouTube? We are back again. You guys are probably getting sick of seeing me, but, I was off for about 5 weeks, and I'm energized and ready to rock and roll, and we've got a great one for you tonight. Joining me tonight are the dynamic duo behind the deathy, doomy, jazzy, melancholic, even poppy, dare I say, maybe a little bit of pop in there, project that goes by the ambiguously titled band name Dream Unending. The driving forces of this musical entity are Derrick Vella, also of the wickedly badass Two Mold, and Justin Detore, best known for his other bands, Innumerable Forms and Sumerlands. And we're going to talk a lot about Sumerlands, man. Holy shit, are we going to talk about Sumerlands? They recently dropped the physical formats of the split that they did with their label mate band Worm on $20 spin a few weeks ago. The digital version, I believe, was available October 20th earlier, but the physicals just popped out here, I think, in the last 3 weeks maybe. So I figured it was a really good time to get these guys in to talk about all the exciting things happening, both their careers and all their bands and projects. So please welcome Derrick, if I can do this right here. There we go. Hey, Derrick, how are you? And Justin.
Good, man.
What's up, guys?
Greetings.
We'll pretend we didn't talk for 5 minutes before we start.
Okay.
Good to see you guys. Derrick, I really appreciate you facilitating this rather quickly, although I've been bugging the shit out of you, as I said, for about 3 months. So
that's okay.
Yeah, wanted to get you in here. I wanted to get you in here to talk about Two Mode. I still want to kind of do that maybe somewhere along the line, but we're kind of a little past that, but we can maybe get to that. But
I mean, we can probably talk about the new record.
Yep, we will. I pulled that out, so we'll get into that a little bit. And Justin,
cool,
first timer here.
Yeah.
Great to see you, and I really appreciate you being here. And I
of course
already insulted you by saying that I could be your fathers, both of you guys. When in actuality, Justin, in your case, I'd have been quite well. Let's see, I'm 57. And you said you're 40. What?
43.
I'd have been 14. It's possible.
It's possible.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, biologically, it is possible.
Yeah.
But I can tell you with all straight faces,
you're a wild child.
It wasn't happening at 14. I tried hard, but it was not happening. So.
Yeah,
it's okay, man.
Listen, good to see you guys. We know you guys collectively. I'm gonna turn this music down a little bit. Collectively as Dream Unending, and I think where I want to start here is, and I'm sure you've gone over this a little bit, but I didn't find a lot of interviews with you guys out there, which is cool for me, so I can kind of cherry pick a lot of cool information. But I think the thing I'd like to get into first is, how did you guys come together, and how long have you known each other, and what's kind of the nexus of those two things? And Justin, how about I start with you?
Okay. Well, and maybe Derrick will talk about this too. We hadn't met until what, like 2019, or maybe
like proper.
Yeah,
like proper in person. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, and then we started communicating, I think, the end of 2018.
Okay.
But I guess we had been to a lot of the same shows, like been in the same room together for many years
right,
like 15 years before that, probably.
Yeah. Because I was going to see any, Justin comes from a long line of different Boston-based like punk and hardcore bands.
Okay.
That I was watching play shows, since like probably 2005 or so.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Yeah.
But never properly meeting, because I mean, I guess I had no reason to try and hit you up.
Hey, hold on one second. I told you I got this new MacBook, and I got to turn off the freaking
the indicator.
Message. Did you hear that ping?
Yeah, I got it too, and I don't know how to turn it off myself.
Okay.
Just roll with it, dude.
I'll talk while you work it out.
Unless you're going to get a million messages, just roll with it.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's a popular guy, Mr. Worldwide over here.
All right, Derrick, so go ahead. So you're
keep going. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. So then, when Justin's other band, Innumerable Forms, put out their first proper full length, which was Punishment in Flesh. That came out a little bit after Manner of Infinite Forms came out by Tomb Mold.
Right.
And, Innumerable Forms had been a band for like what? How many years before that record dropped?
We started in
10?
2007.
Yeah, so it's like a while. And I saw you guys in 2010 when you guys came to Toronto, I think with Mammoth Grinder.
Yep.
And so it's funny, like, it's like, oh, they actually made an album, like a proper full length.
Right.
So I hit up Chris Bruni from Profound Lore, who put out the record. And I was like, can you give me this guy's email? Like, I want to congratulate him on finally doing this thing. So I emailed Justin and I was like, my name's so-and-so. I play in a band. Anyways. And then
I knew who Tomb Mold was because that record was fucking big, man. And everyone knew about it.
And like, no matter what, I assume no one knows who I am. So that's just how I go. Mm-hmm. But then we had a bit of correspondence and talked about our bands. And then, I guess I said in the email, well, if you ever need anything, like, just let me know. And then Justin was like, yeah, okay, like I want to start a band. So can you start a band with
it? Really?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I need something. Let's start a band, dude. Let's do it.
The light bulb went off, and I was like, I told Derrick, I'm an opportunist at the end of the day. Yeah. And I was like, great. Like, oh, okay, like I guess the door's open. We can make something happen.
Make that move, right? Make that move. Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, what kind of band do you want to start? And he was like, I want to do a doom band, but like in the classic kind of Peaceville style. And that's stuff I really liked.
Sure.
But it was a very intimidating ask because, like, kind of like when Tomb Mold started, I had never tried to write death metal before. So I had never tried to write doom metal before. So it was a bit of like a on the job, like, learning process, but it was very enjoyable. But also
you don't really know because of the style of music that you had played, which was basically punk and hardcore. You don't really know if you're really capable of doing that until you try to immerse yourself in and start doing it, right?
Well, for sure, right? And I never was someone who learned how to play songs by bands that I liked. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I never like actively tried to learn like an Anathema song, just like I never tried to actively learn a Death song. What happens is that you attempt to write riffs, and then you start to realize, oh, this is how, this riff goes or something, right? Like, and you piece it together. But especially with the Doom ask, those are long songs, right? Like, so there's a lot happening, even though sometimes there isn't at all, but so it was sort of it became an interesting challenge because, one, I had to learn how to write heavy riffs that didn't sound like Tomb Mold per se.
Yeah.
And that took a little bit of time. Like, I think like one song we like completely wiped. Actually, I think one song I tried to pitch might have just turned into a Tomb Mold song at some point. Yeah, right. I think the song Aperture of Body by Tomb Mold, which is on that tape we put out a couple years ago now. Like 2 years ago? I don't know.
Anyway, I missed out on like a dipshit, but go ahead.
A lot of people did, and a lot of people were mad, but like we're just three boys trying to mail out a bunch of tapes.
I got it. It was cool.
Hey man, like it came out on record. You could buy the record.
That's right. It is. That's right.
Yeah.
I have a record player now. I can grab one.
Yeah. There you go.
I buy stuff. I send
I know you do, man. I'm not. Don't
buy
worry.
lots of shit.
I'm not giving you shit. Anyways, so, and I guess we talked about bands that we liked and sort of guidelines for how we wanted to go about it. We knew it was going to be slow. We had like a no blast beats rule. That was for sure. So we weren't going to like really do the disembowelment thing. And then I can't try to remember what was the first song I would have like shown to you that was like, this is going to be a Dream Unending song. In Cypher I Weep.
In Cypher I Weep. Yeah. I remember the middle part. The middle part you may have shown me when you presented me the song that became the Tomb Mold song. Like that part was
maybe. Maybe.
Like, oh, okay. This is what I want. You know what I mean? Like we should.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I had to rewrite everything up to that point.
Yeah, and maybe you had the outro too. But right.
And you guys really had a vision of what you wanted to create going into this.
Sort of. I mean, I think when you listen to that song in Cypher I Weep, which is technically the third song off the 1st record, it's a death doom song, you know, and it doesn't really push anything too far out there. You know, it's got some pretty kind of heavy, almost evil riffs, some, you know, melodic riffs, and then it's got a clean part that's pretty pedestrian. It's very nice.
It's got an MDB vibe to it.
Yeah, sure, right.
You know?
And then it's got like a pretty heavy back half of heavy stuff with like a lot of like more double kick playing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, so that was sort of, if that was like the first presented song that like, you know, made a passing mark. From there, then I think we just kind of started piecing together song by song. And this would have been in 2019. Yeah, like I came back from Tomb Old Zero tour, so I was like September, October I started writing it.
Yep.
Because I think before the like if the world shut down in February or March of 2020, I think almost everything had been written except for the title track Tide Turns Eternal. But like the song Dream Unending was written.
Yeah.
And the song Dream Unending, like, I mean, so the order of the songs and how we wrote it is, I actually remember this pretty well. It was in Cypher I Weep. Then it was the track before it, Adorned in Lies.
Yeah, that was
I had to sell you on. I had to sell you on that one being good. I remember that a little bit.
On the intro. Everything else was, I was like, this is exactly what I want. And it was almost like, oh, this is actually something that's a little bit new. Like, it's not just pulling from UK Doom or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And did you, real quick, so you weren't working on multiple tracks at a time. You were actually literally like crafting a.
Yeah, I would say so, more or less. Like maybe what might happen is like one song I might have
throw an overdub in,
like the bones of a song, right? Like just like one heavy guitar, and then I could come back to it later. Maybe go work on something else. But then I remember
you do that. You do that at home. What do you use? Logic?
Yeah, so I use Reaper. Well, actually, at that time, I was using GarageBand because Reaper was too intimidating.
Right.
And I remember, so those two songs were sort of in the can, so to speak, of like, okay, we got a couple songs here. But then the song Dream Unending was the song where I kind of felt like, okay, now I'm really writing like what I kind of want to write and exploring things. And then that was sort of, I felt like that song was like the tipping point of like, if Justin is into this, then like, I think we can really take this somewhere interesting or like somewhere special.
Yeah.
And I remember when I sent you the demo, I was fucking anxious, man.
No, I was pretty blown away by that one.
There you go. Yeah. See, he's got it.
Yeah. Because you when you presented that to me, that was pretty much completed, right? I mean, I think there wasn't anything else.
More or less, like, I mean, the big middle clean part was there, the outro, like everything. I think actually, you know what? Maybe the last 90 seconds of the song came a little later.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. So when you're working on these tracks, kind of often I envision that some of it's not a complete stream of consciousness thing where you're starting here and ending here. You're piecing parts together that work, right? At times, or no? Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Justin, how are you then figuring out where to put your vocal sections? Or Derrick, are you already thinking as you're writing, I want vocals here?
No.
Okay.
Like, I'm a very when it comes to Justin's parts, I'm super hands off for the most part. Right. I think maybe in the history of the 2.5 records we've made, I think I might have suggested a certain drum pattern twice, at the most. And then vocals, I'm not good at that kind of stuff, like vocals for metal bands. Like, I never really assist in that. It's the weak point of mine.
Okay.
So that's all Justin.
When I went to record the drums for Tide Turns Eternal, I wasn't too nervous because I was like, I have Arthur, like we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. I had some stuff in my mind of what I wanted to do. I'd already kind of jammed out some of the songs, but then when it came to think about the vocals, I was like, I kind of panicked, to be honest. I was like, oh my God, like how am I going to sing over the, like, what do I do? You know, but that too, I kind of went over with Arthur. We kind of figured out some vocal patterns, like, when not to sing, when to sing. And, but yeah, I mean,
most bands usually start generally. The drums are the bed tracks, right? Usually. But it doesn't sound like that's how you guys did this.
No. So what would happen is like Justin would just take the demo version of the song that had a click.
So you had a click. You had a click.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, got it.
I mean, it's insane when you think about it, because also you got to remember this is during COVID, during the pandemic,
right. So you can't see each other.
Yeah, we weren't even in the same state,
Yeah.
So he sent us the songs like just playing guitar to a click, and I was like, all right, well, I guess we just gotta try to do the drums.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. And which was insane, but it actually worked. And kudos to Derrick, actually, because even the tempos themselves, I thought, were great. There was nothing where I was like, this part has to be slower or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's that one actually I was surprised by. I think even when you went to record it, I think even Arthur was like, I'm shocked this went so well. Like,
yeah.
So then once Justin would finish the drums, I would get the stems for the drums or just a mix out, whatever I need. And then I would go to a proper studio and record all the guitars and bass. So I did that at Boxcar Sound, which is in Hamilton, Ontario. That's where I do everything that I do. Tumult, Dream Unending, other projects that I've been working on. It all happens there. The engineer, Sean Pearson, like he's my guy for life. He's my dude. And I love going there. And it was, that was also doing Tide Turns Eternal was kind of intimidating even for me, because it was sort of like you write all these guitar parts, you have to remember all this stuff, and you have a deadline. Like you have a finite amount of time, right? So with Tide, I think I went up on a Thursday night to drop off all my gear, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I banged the whole thing out.
Wow.
And then I was done. Yeah, it was pretty good. So I, and we kind of went, I think with that one, we went song by song. So we would do like the first song. So it was like, all right, start it from the top. Okay, heavy guitars go here. I'll play the first heavy guitar. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, past this clean part. Let me do heavy guitars here. Rewind. I'll do the next set of heavy guitars. Clean overdubs, clean section, bass at the end, or like solos, then clean, unless I needed the clean, then to do the solo. It was always like, it was just building it, like
production line sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily,
what are they using? Are they using Pro Tools there, I assume?
Yeah. Like it's a very professional. It's a pro place. Justin's actually been there. This year, was it this year you came up?
Like in July, I think.
Yeah. So we would just do it song by song, and Sean and I, luckily, it's like that thing where it's like you have to, if you're going to be stuck in a room with someone for a few days, I hope you have like a good relationship with them.
Yeah, right.
Sort of like Justin and Arthur, like me and Sean, like we understand each other. We both have like the right demeanor. I don't tense up when I record. I don't get stressed. I'm not very hard on myself when it comes to recording. I sort of just like live and let live. Like, you find the good take, that there isn't a thing. There's no such thing as a perfect take. Right. And a perfect take sometimes just has no soul. So don't try to force the action. Just these little things that like work for me. It's purely for me. But, so then we did that, and then you did vocals at home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had the microphone set up in the closet. And,
hell yeah,
not unusual these days, right?
No. I mean,
get a good mic, and are you using condenser mics, or what are you using for those vocals?
No, I was using the
ribbon.
What's it called? The Shure, like the one that James Hetfield is holding in some kind of monster.
SM58 or an SM57?
Yes, right.
Yeah, something like that.
I think is it the 58? But yeah, you know,
58 is more the vocal, 57 is more the instrumental mic. So yeah,
right.
I have 58. I think they sound great, man. I mean,
it was awesome. Can't complain. I took a few weeks actually to do the vocals, because I had most of the lyrics, or like an idea for the lyrics for each song. But then, once you like record it and it's ready to go, usually you change a few things. You realize you're like, oh man, okay, that part didn't work. But so I took a few weeks to kind of really meditate on the lyrics, and I had like I said, I had worked out a lot of the vocal patterns with Arthur, so I kind of had like a direction or knew what I wanted to do. But like still, I didn't know, like, is my voice gonna work for this? Like, there were a lot of unknowns. I was pretty nervous about, probably more nervous about that than anything else I've done, like recording wise.
Was there an overarching message in the lyrical content of the album? I must admit, I'm away from it long enough now. I'm old and forget things, but it seems to me was there a narrative, I guess, was what I was kind of looking for.
Yeah, I mean, well, me and Derrick had talked about how, we didn't want this band to kind of dwell in darkness and dwell in negativity.
Right.
If anything, we wanted to be uplifting, but in a way that wasn't forced. You know what I mean? So I think, some of the lyrics on that record don't reflect that, but I would say most of them do, especially towards the end of the record.
Yeah.
Like song Unending, the song Tide Turns Eternal, the Needful, those ones definitely do.
You wrote all the lyrics, Justin, or did you guys work together on those?
So
Say it again?
Did
Justin,
you guys work together on the lyrics, or just you?
Justin writes all of his lyrics.
Okay.
And then anything that's like spoken or sung clean by somebody else, I write those.
Okay.
So then sometimes things like I might present an idea to Justin before he even starts on a song. And that might help shape the narrative of a song even, or like there is definitely like, I feel like the lyrics sort of, they crescendo and climb sort of in mood as the album goes on. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's almost like searching for something and then you're starting to find it. Right.
It's a very cinematic album, and your music
totally
is very cinematic. I mean, it's kind of
thanks.
Very evocative of, like, I could almost see, like, an old what's his name? I can't think of his name. The Swedish director, Ingmar Bergman, like Bergman. Like, sure. I can see like a Bergman flick with this kind of music, because it kind of tells stories, even though I don't know the lyrics off the top of my head. Yeah. It just has that vibe to it, and all your music has that vibe. And I don't know if that was something you really set out to accomplish, but if you didn't and fell into it, you did a nice job.
Thank you. That's really nice of you. I think I started to notice that stuff in my writing when Tumult did Manner of Infinite Forms, where like when Max, the drummer and vocalist of Tumult, when we did Primordial Malignity, the first record, that was very much like, we have to write a record. How do we do this? And it was like, all right, well, let's just try. And we had a lot of fun writing it. Like it's such a charming record. Actually, Max and I were listening. Max and I got together today to learn a couple old songs together, and we like just kind of listened to some of these Primordial songs, and we're like, do you remember writing that? Like, that was fun. Like, but then when we started working on Manor, we had more of a bigger vision. You know what I mean? Like, sort of how we want, like how the songs flow into each other, sequencing. Like, I started thinking a lot more about that stuff. Right. So I started taking like the long view with writing records, and then same with Planetary. And then the next record I would have wrote from beginning to end was mostly Tide, and then the Enduring Spirit songs by Tumult are in between the two Dream and Ending records. Oh, okay. Sort of like that's sort of the timeline of my writing. Mm-hmm. So, and we do Tide, and like coming off writing those Tumult songs and working on Tide, I think we had a high level of confidence to do the next record. So
I can't find my copy. I have a CD and I couldn't find it.
Oh, nice.
But that album just kind of takes the I don't want to call it a formula, because that can kind of be insulting, but
that's okay.
There is a bit of a formula in what you're trying to accomplish with this sound and with this band's sort of overall aesthetic, right? I mean, there is again, that word some artists can take that as, you're attacking me with the word formula. It's cookie cutter. No, it's not that. It's just that there's a sound you're looking for that you want to encompass with the band, with the name, with the brand, if you want to call it that. And so the second album comes out, and that came out in 22.
Yeah. So
early 22, right?
we record. So just for like timeline's sake,
Right.
if I have this right, Tide Turns Eternal gets recorded between February and March of 2021.
Yep.
Comes out November of 21.
21. That's right. Yeah.
So then people are hearing Tide in like November, December,
right?
And in January of 22, and late January, early February of 22 is when we record Song of Salvation.
And then that came out when? April? Was it April?
November of
22. Oh, it came out in November.
Yeah.
They were
so it's basically a year.
A year.
Yeah,
right.
like everything has almost been yearly, like November, almost.
And was that something that you consciously were like, look, we're onto something, let's keep going? Or was it, did $20 come to you and go, hey man, this did really good, we need more of this?
No,
because
luckily
in the interim, you've got Tumult that you are doing, and Justin, you've got Sumerlands and you've got Innumerable. So you guys are working around a lot of different, I don't want to call them tumultuous, but you've got deadlines you got to work with and other people that you're dealing with other than just yourself. So kind of go into that a little bit.
Well, I guess when did we decide that we were going to make another record? Like before we knew it was going to be an LP, like pretty shortly after we recorded?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were presenting riffs to me for a new record, like maybe in March. I don't even know if I even finished the vocals yet. That's why, because I had to tell you, like, slow down, dude. Other, like, I'm with you, like, give me some time, you know. But because I remember the idea that you had was to have it be the 2 long songs that are on that kind of bookend, Song of Salvation. That was going to be the record. It's going to be those 2 tracks.
Yeah, it'd be like
a record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So then, and I think I had the full outline for the title track, Song of Salvation, by March or April.
For maybe. Sure. Yeah, because we were working on the song that became Ecstatic Rain in early April for sure. Maybe even late March. I can't remember. But yeah,
Jesus.
So definitely.
Well, let me interject a sec. Derrick, was there something going on with you? I have a theory, but was there something going on with you that you kind of hammered into this creative vein other than COVID? I mean, yes, you had COVID, so you were stuck inside. You probably were. But
tell me your theory.
My theory is this. So I saw you and met you in 19. You had real short hair back then. So I met you at Decibel Fest. Okay.
Yeah.
I was pissed because I wanted a Manner of Infinite Forms T-shirt, and you only had the long sleeves, and I don't do long sleeves. Anyway, I did buy one. I bought a blood mirror. But long story short, your playing at that level was very competent, very good for the death metal stuff and the punk stuff. Yeah. But I wouldn't have actually thought you were going to go into this vein. Now, since I've gotten to know you, I realize you're a really well-rounded, very musical guy that loves all kinds of stuff. But what I'm getting at is you've worked on your craft a lot. You've clearly really put a lot of time in on the guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that was the byproduct of that was just being so creative that you're like, man, I got these riffs that I really got to get down. And I think, was that part of it?
Definitely. I remember, a couple things happened. When I went to go record Tide Turns Eternal, I showed up to the studio and Sean, the engineer, was like, I got this pedal. I just got this new pedal that I think we should try to use on the record. And I was like, oh, what's it called? He's like, it's the Night Sky Reverb by Strymon.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I haven't heard of this one. I know the Big Sky and like the Blue Sky. And he was like, yeah, so this is like the opposite. He's like, it's mostly a shimmer tank. He's like, but I think we could all have fun with it. And like that was sort of made the record like what it was. So what happened is I immediately got home from doing Tide and I got a Night Sky. And then I remember plugging my 12-string guitar through it and just loving it.
Yeah.
And almost immediately coming up with the intro to the Song of Salvation. after that, I was like, okay, like all bets are off. I'm just gonna keep writing music. I mean, I'm never one to really slow down on that front. I knew I had the luxury of time because we were still pretty deep in the pandemic, and
Right.
Tumo wasn't practicing yet because like we weren't vaccinated yet. So like, Canada got their vaccinations not much later, but later. So I was and at that time I was living with my mom at home. So I was living in my hometown where I didn't really have anybody. So I was just hanging out by myself, and all my gear was in the basement. So I would just go down, play, work on stuff. And I just started working on it. And I was, go ahead.
You mentioned the Night Sky.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird as a fellow guitar player? Isn't it weird how, and I bought a lot of stuff recently, so you get all this gear and you just get immersed in it and you can't stop if you're a creative person. You just gotta do and effects. I'm still trying to figure this neural DSP thing out, man. I am like my mind's exploding every minute I plug it in.
I bet. Yeah.
But and being an old guy, I'm not as tech savvy as a younger cat. So
me neither. I'm terrible.
But yeah, that isn't it weird how like getting that Night Sky kind of like suddenly triggered the creative juices to get rolling harder. You know what I mean?
Well, definitely, because then what happened was when we tracked Song of Salvation, I knew all my like custom presets I wanted to use at certain points on certain songs for certain clean tracks, like certain overdubs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Song is like SOS just has more of like it's a more realized version of like what Dream Unending could be. But to me, it's also like the maximum of like what we should do on a record, because like that record is definitely like guitar overload in a good way, but it's a lot, man. Like there's like 4 guitars happening at least most of the time, and it's sick and it's great. And I definitely like during the pandemic, I definitely started taking guitar playing more seriously and just songwriting in general. And
is that when you started taking lessons from Kev?
I started with him in 22.
Okay, right.
No, yeah, 22. But so, and that was definitely like the next thing where I was like, okay, if I really want to get better, I need someone to help me get better. But even just buying gear and like being consciously like looking into stuff, like on Song of Salvation, I used basically Strymon made that record for me. Like I had the Night Sky.
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, like I bought the Night Sky, I bought the Dig delay, I bought the Zelza phaser, which I think is maybe like the greatest modulation pedal I've ever had in my life.
Which one?
The Zelza. It's their phaser.
I'm not familiar with them. Okay.
It's fucking incredible. It's got there's a lot to it and like a rich amount of sound, because you can go from like traditional phaser to like borderline flanger sound with it, which is like really sweet, because I have a love-hate relationship with flangers, because they never can do what I want them to do.
Okay.
Or they do, but like they're this big and they like don't fit on my board. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, we started working on the songs, like writing Song of Salvation pretty shortly after. And yeah, initially, like Justin said, we were just going to do a 2-song EP.
Okay, right.
But then I think I wrote the song Secret Grief, which is the second track on the record, and I showed it to you, and I was like, I think this has to be more than just a 2-songer. And from there, then it became like, okay, we're going to just make another full length. I mean, we were halfway there. Like those 2 songs make up over 30 minutes.
Right.
Because is Ecstatic Rings 18 minutes or 16? I don't really.
14, 16. Yeah.
It's long. Yeah. It's a long song. And SOS was a long song. So it was sort of like, okay, like we've got a lot to work with here. But then what became interesting, and I don't mean to just dominate this conversation, is we had these 2 huge tracks that are big in scale and scope and very epic. And I hate that word, but they are epic. Like it is what it is.
It fits.
It is what it is. So what ended up happening was like, well, what do we do with the middle of the record? Like, well, we almost need to like create like a cool down between these 2 like monolithic tracks, right? And Secret Grief is like, you know, a much more, Secret Grief reminds me of the song The Needful off the first record, only in the sense that it gets its point across in like 5 minutes or less, because The Needful's not that long, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And Secret Grief is like 5 minutes. And then from there it was sort of, okay, well, I'd like to do another interlude song because I like doing those. How can we make that more involved? And then we had an instrumental track in the sense that Justin played drums on a song that didn't have vocals, which is Unrequited. And then yeah, so that all kind of came together in the summer of 21. Yeah.
It was interesting. Yeah. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
No, I think I think all the songs were fully fleshed out and fully realized, at least musically, by the end of that summer, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
My friend Rick here makes a point. He said the second full length was such a surprise drop. And I agree. It just kind of was like, whoa, another one that quick? And because we were all just like kind of really, meaning a lot of the YouTube community that shares a lot of this music and talks about it and all that kind of stuff. But everybody that's a metal fan or a rock fan or whatever, we were kind of just digesting the first album to a large degree, because you guys didn't have this massive, like gigantic, like rollout. It wasn't like, you know, Paul Stanley, you know, collaborating with James Hetfield. Oh, we got to promote it 8 months beforehand. This was kind of like, you know, $20 Spin does what they do. They put a lot of really high quality material out. They do. They're one of the best, if not the best, in the death metal, atmospheric death metal, black metal realm. And you guys come out. It kind of that first album catches everybody a little bit off guard. And they're like, you know. I mean, I remember I was like, whoa, this is a really cool thing, because you know, Derrick, you know, we've talked music ad infinitum at the last time we talked, and all of our loves. And I just did a Cocteau Twins deep dive.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
And I'm hearing Cocteau Twins in Dream Unending. I'm hearing This Mortal Coil. I'm hearing some of those 80s bands, you know, that I love, you know.
Yeah, like some of those simple kind of overdubs kind of remind me of like Robert Smith or something like that.
Yep,
you know,
The Cure,
like,
the very clean tones with those chimey, echoey, you know, the Simon effect, of course. And so I don't know if those were things that you tried to set out to incorporate or emulate, but they certainly are there. If you're a music fan, you can hear them, right?
Oh, totally, man. Like I think we definitely talked. Like, I mean, Justin and I are both big Cure fans, so it's like something we like definitely like bonded over, and we're like, well, we can like imply that kind of music in our heavy songs. Like that's pretty easy, and that's not a new thing, you know. Like lots of bands have done stuff like that, but you get to do it your own way, right? Which makes the fun, and sort of the combination of all the things, kind of you create your own sound with it, and that's a lot of fun, and getting to pull from other things, especially like the song on Song of Salvation, Murmur of Voices, like starts with just this guitar that's harmonized in perfect fifth, like arpeggiating some chords. And to me, like that just sounds like Robin Guthrie. You know what I mean? Like that's like, and like consciously, I'm like, this is a Robin Guthrie moment before we go into this other thing, and it's cool, and it's fun to be able to. It's fun to write a record where a part can remind you of Robin Guthrie, a part can remind you of the band Low, like that slow core band.
Yes,
like the song Ecstatic Rain, like that opening riff. It's just this 12-string playing this very simple thing, and it really reminds me of the song Lazy by Low. But then the beauty of that is we then play that riff again, but overdriven with heavy guitars and drums, and then it just sounds like Alice in Chains. Yeah. So it's sort of like, how do I take the same idea and channel it through like two completely different things that I love, right? And like this, and then it becomes it works, it's effective. But on like a deeper level, it's like an inside joke with yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's my Alice in Chains moment. There's my this moment. There's my that moment.
There's literally like when we were sending mix notes to Arthur for the second record in Ecstatic Rain, there's one guitar solo where I was like, you have to turn this up. This is my Edge of Sanity moment. You know what I mean? So it's like little things like that where it's fun. And that one, took a little longer. I did that one in 4 days instead of 3, because there was just a lot more to do. But I remember when you did drums for it, Justin, you were like, you just felt much more confident going into it. Like,
Oh yeah.
You
Well, the first when we went to record Tide, I knew that I had to record 5 drum tracks, right? And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna book 5 days and just to play it safe because I didn't really know what I was getting into.
Right.
And I figured like if we can't do like one song a day, then like what's the point of even doing this? You know what I mean? So I did that, but that was good because we were able to take our time and kind of figure things out. And actually, I was thinking about when you were talking, you know, going into it, I had more of a kind of classic death doom, you know, a US UK type of vibe as far as the drums goes. But then, you know, as I was listening to the songs, the guitarists in the studios, and we were trying stuff out, you know, I was playing a little too busy, and it's like it just wasn't working. So both me and Arthur kind of figured like, you know, let's try doing like a more of a funeral type you know, drum pattern.
The tempos, right?
You know what I mean? The temp, yeah, and like just very sparse, you know, kind of like skepticism, you know, or but you know what I mean? And I was like,
there's definitely some esoteric moments in this.
sure, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Big
absolutely,
time,
absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And because Greg, and I don't know if you saw that interview I did with him.
Yep.
Oh
Derrick.
no, I haven't. I should watch
there's
that.
a 2-parter, man. It's like 4.5 hours. It is deep,
Hell yeah.
It is crazy deep. And we talk about every album, every effect pedal you used. He's like you. He gets inspired by using different pedals and coming up with these just very complex, overlaid and overlapped sort of melodies and harmonies. And I mean, but I hear that a lot. That's the one band I would say, if I had to pick any band that you guys kind of sound like, even over the Peaceville 3 stuff.
Yeah,
I honestly think there's more esoteric in these albums than
I
think you're right.
I would agree with you. I fucking love that band, man.
Probably not even consciously. It probably just was what it was.
We had talked esoteric before.
Oh
and
yeah, like they just
when that record in, was it 18 and or maybe early 19 when that one that came out.
I think it was 20, like a Fearic Existence or whatever.
Yeah,
like
I think that's 19. That's late.
19. Okay.
Yeah. So,
But we definitely that record, but like the early stuff, subconscious disillusion of the continuum. Like I love that record. Maniacal Veil, Exogenesis. Like I love them all. Like they have the ability to sound so fucking deranged and evil, and then and then within the same song could have like the most beautiful moment. Like it's incredible. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's like, and you're right. I'll never forget when I first heard Subconscious, which I think is like around 2001-ish or 2000.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I listened to that thing. I'm like, this dude singing has to be like one of the most frightening human beings on the planet.
Like,
and it turns out Greg is like one of the coolest, nicest,
awesome.
chillest dudes you'd ever meet. Man, I got to get you guys together. You guys could do some crazy shit. Anyway, let's move on.
I mean to interrupt you, but I saw them. I saw Derrick in 2013 in Boston.
Did you?
Yeah, because
that was the only time they toured the States.
Yeah, they played with Evokin.
Yep.
And they played this venue that no longer exists called TT the Bears, which was
they're going to be at Death Fest in May.
Yeah.
They're coming to Maryland Death Fest finally.
Yeah, that's cool.
So May, so you know that I'm going to be there. Well, I hope I'm going to be there. Let's put it that way. Hey, let's jump. I don't want to keep you guys forever tonight. So let's do this. I did want to ask this question that Andrew is asking. He's like, oh no, that wasn't it. I lost it. Hold on. He basically said, I really hope Dream Unending hits the stage sometime. It would be otherworldly. Do you guys ever envision that? Is it something that could be a reality? For
sure, man. At some point, we have to do it. But we will. Mm-hmm. We will. Yeah.
Okay, there you go, Andrew. So
we got to do it right. We got to make sure that we got the right guys.
Right. Yeah. And if you did that, I would imagine that would probably be a 5-piece, I would guess, right?
Yeah, like I mean, we'd probably,
unless you're running tracks or something like that.
No, I think if we want to do it right, we'd probably need 3 guitar players.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, I
And
would
then you
think
could have
so.
somebody on keys too. You could do synths in the background.
Maybe, or I would just rearrange stuff for 3 guitar players. I think
That
it's doable.
that'd be an
Um,
esoteric moment, right? That'd be your esoteric because
oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think they have 6 guys, but
Oh, okay,
that'd be cool as hell.
would be.
Let's jump into this a little bit. I want to know what where this came from in terms of like how did this all start? And I got to tell you guys, I haven't done my top 20 yet for 23. This is clearly going to be in my top 5. I don't know where it's going to be just yet.
Hell
I
yeah.
haven't determined it. I fucking love it. I have to say the Worm tracks might be the best Worm tracks that they've done. They're
Oh
absolutely
wow, nice. Yeah.
mind blowing, and I really love Worm. I wanted to get him in here. You know that I was hoping we could try to facilitate that, but we'll have to see if I can make that happen another way. But anyway,
You need a one-on-one with him because you can go a long time with that guy. You know what I
okay,
mean? Like,
yeah.
but
So go
well,
ahead, talk about where the inception of this and how it happened, and was it a label thing? Was it you reaching out to him, Derrick, or you reaching out to him, Justin, or how'd that happen?
guess it was my idea.
Yeah, because remember we had talked about, was it your, or maybe it was Phantom's idea originally to have kind of like a $20 3
Right.
like
Yeah.
kind of release where it would be what was it again? It was
Atramentus.
It would be
Tremendous,
Atramentus,
yeah.
Atramentus, us, and Worm. Like
That's a great trio right there.
Yeah.
The Atramentus guy, is that the cathedral? Is he the cathedral?
Yeah, Phil, and he plays in Worm.
Oh, he plays in Worm. That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
he's the Shredder boy in Worm.
Yep. He's fucking good, man. No doubt.
Oh yeah.
Real good, yeah. So go ahead.
So, but I think we knew if that was ever going to happen, it might not happen for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I had already started working on the 2 songs before we even pitched it. I think I had like loose ideas of song ideas. But when, we both kind of got to know Phantom around the time our first record was coming out because Foreverglade was coming out, which was his debut on $20 Spin.
Third album, right? Debut on $20. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then it became, Dave at $20 Spin was like, oh yeah, well this band, like this other Doom band is going to be putting out their first record with me. And I was like, oh yeah, I know that band. I just sort of got in contact with him and we exchanged records. So I gave him Tide. He gave me Foreverglade before they came out. And we listened to them and kind of just created a friendship, looped Justin in. So both records do well. Like Worm catches on like wildfire. And then while we were doing Song of Salvation, he was doing the Blue Nothing EP, which just took them into the next sphere. And we were just talking and congratulating each other on stuff. And I think I just said, split out LP, like who says no? And he was like, yeah, we're down. I was like, all right, cool. So, and the nice thing about working with Dave at $20 Spin is Dave never asks you for anything. Like he's not like, you need to make me a record. Like he agreed to do Dream Unending, like based on like my GarageBand demos. Like, so nice. Like I'm indebted to that guy for life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And
that's
so
awesome. That's real label support right there.
Oh yeah. Like he's the fucking
They let you
man.
be an artist. They let you be an artist.
Yeah, for sure. And he's never like, when Tomb Mold decided not to do anything for like 3 years, he never said anything. I think the only thing he ever said was maybe like, it'll be great when you guys make a record so people can stop asking me when you're going to make a record.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But that's just it. Like, no pressure, like no nothing. You know what I mean? Like he's like, look, I'm churning along with or without you, but I'm here when you're ready. You know what I mean? So when we hit him up about doing a split LP, he's like, yeah, sure. Like, whatever, like do what you want to do. Like there was no like, there's no negotiations to be had. There was no real discussion except do the record. And then kind of just everything's left up to us to
start moving forward on it. Right?
Yeah. So, and I think for Justin and I, what was fun about the idea of a split LP was like, one, we knew it would be cool no matter what. And we knew that we had to do songs that were good, which is, Worm probably thought the same thing about themselves. But we also kind of felt like, there's no real pressure with this because it's not a official full-length release, right? Like it's a split LP. Like, a lot of people will treat it as novelty no matter how good it is. You know what I mean? Just because it's a split album. And that's fine. But then what that kind of gave us was just like the wiggle room to do whatever we wanted. So I feel like, you know, we had a lot of I had a lot of fun writing these songs because it was sort of just
this is a 44-minute album essentially. When
you totally
it's a full-on album, which is really, really cool by two really, really killer bands. And I just was curious where the impetus came from, because the kind of the nexus is like a perfect marriage in a weird way, right?
Well, that's just it. Like those two sides of the records don't sound anything like each other, which is a strength, because it's like, I don't know, it's like buying a split LP from two death metal bands that sound the same. You know what I mean? Like I can think of a
point.
Yeah. So, but knowing also the direction Worm was going in based off Blue Nothing and how they were going to probably keep trending that way, if not get more into it, you know, we were like, well, we can go another way. You know what I mean? So I think the shining example of that is the song So Many Chances, the first song of ours on the record, which is a song that starts off sounding traditionally Dream Unending, but that clean break in the middle goes places that we never dared to venture into before.
Yeah, very jazzy.
Yeah, very jazzy. Has like a very, it's very cool sounding, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's very laid back. You know what I mean?
Very laid back. Yeah,
it's not melancholy sounding. It's more mysterious sounding.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like, you know what? We can kind of we can chill out. We don't have to be so serious. Yeah.
Play with this a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
But then, you know, I've said this to somebody else where I kind of treated the song. So there's like, let's just break it up. There's heavy part, first clean break, the next heavy part, and then like the clean part that goes for like 4 minutes at the end. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was crafting that song, I knew the clean parts were going to be the parts where we branched out the most as far as new sound, let's just say, right? Or new writing approach, whatever you want to call it. So the heavy parts, like the first part of So Many Chances was sort of things I did on the album Tide Turns Eternal that I liked, that I wanted to do again. So for example, in the song Tide Turns Eternal on the first record, there's a section that's in 3/4 time. It has like a waltz feel.
Yeah.
And there's a guitar, just like this heavy guitar going like do 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 do. And I really liked that. I still really like it. And I was like, I want to write another kind of thing like that. So the intro of So Many Chances is that. It's a 3/4 waltzy kind of riff. And even the riffs after in that heavy section remind me of like Adorned in Lies and stuff. Then we get to that first clean break, which is just like, this more kind of got a jazz, like, you know, like if Opeth leaned more into jazz, you know what I mean? Or something like that.
Right.
Or like, you know, something to that effect. And I get to rip this like fun, clean solo that transitions into a heavy solo. And I remember the first time I played it for my bandmate from Tomb Old Payson, I had him come over and he heard it and he started laughing, because he's just like, the transition is ridiculous. Like you have this, and then it just sounds like Richie Sambora walks into the room and starts ripping a heavy lead. And I was like, yeah, that was the point. Like it's kind of funny.
Nice.
And then you know, it kind of tapers off, and then we go back into this big heavy section. And that part reminds me of how I wrote heavy riffs on Song of Salvation, which is more like these just like non-power chord, you know, 3-note chords, and like trying to get more flavor out of 3 notes, and it really builds and then just kind of stops. And then we get this like 4-minute kind of outro with like acoustic guitar and drums, and it almost sounds like quasi Chris Isaak or something, but with like this like these like kind of hot solos coming in. And then we had our friend Phil Swanson sing on that song, who also sang on Secret Grief on the second record. And that was really fun. He does the clean vocals. Yeah. And what was fun about doing that part was after we tracked the main acoustic guitar for the end, I said to Sean, the engineer, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play a solo at the end here, but I'm gonna use my acoustic guitar. And he was like, all right, sounds good. He's like, do you have something written? I was like, no, but we'll just kind of build it. So I played this acoustic guitar solo and I really liked it. So then after we did it, I was like, okay, let's rewind, keep that. Now I'm going to pick up this electric guitar and I'm going to play a clean solo with the electric guitar. And the intention was, so when you hear the record on a streamer or on CD, you hear the acoustic solo. But if you play the record, you hear the electric guitar solo at the end of that song. So the electric guitar version is only on the record.
Oh,
so
I didn't actually pick up on that. I have both.
Yeah, kind of like an Easter egg for anyone. And I said to, I think I said to Dave, I was like, I don't think anyone will notice. And he actually texted me last night. He's like, actually, someone inquired about it.
I didn't. Yeah. That shows how observant I am. What a dumbass. And I usually am pretty sharp on that stuff, but I just missed it.
And,
you know what? I know why. Because I haven't played the vinyl yet. I've only played the CD. I haven't.
Yeah. Now you're in for a treat, man. Now you're in for a treat.
Right.
But yeah, when he told me that last night, I was very delighted. But and then the second track, If Not Now When, is more of the heavy kind of serious like Dream Unending song, and that one to me is just like chock full of like, you know, these heavy riffs that are super emotive and evocative that remind me of bands I love like King's X and Rush and even Fate's Warning a little bit. Yeah. But then it has this nice clean outro where it's like, there were two things I wanted to do with this split. One was, I call it the Dream Unending effect, which is like the thing where you listen to a full length by us and you're like, wow, that was great. And it's like a big journey. It tells a story, blah, blah, blah. But it takes 45 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, can I do that in 24 minutes? Right. You know what I mean? So that was one thing I wanted to achieve. But with the ending of If Not Now When, I didn't want to have like the big ending because our other records have like the big ending. I was like, well, why don't we end quiet? Like, why don't we end soft and end kind of like, I don't know, not like that. So If Not Now When kind of closes with this 3-chord clean progression that just sort of keeps stacking layers on layers until it just sort of disintegrates. Mm-hmm. And then done. Yeah. So that was fun.
Now, did you get to hear the Worm tracks before you submitted everything, or did it come out or did you get explain that real quick?
Well, we were done way before them, I think. Like we got our stuff done in like January of 23.
Yeah, I mean, I think I tracked drums like first week of January 23, and then we had the final mix by like the third week of January.
Oh, wow.
Maybe like the end, you know what I mean? This one was fast.
We turned and burned that thing, man. Like we were like, we gotta get it done.
Arthur?
Yeah, that was Arthur again. And that by that time I felt so much more comfortable kind of, you know, with the drums and what I wanted to do vocally, lyrically. So and also even at that point, I mean, we had talked about doing the split for sure, and we figured that was going to happen. But in the back of my mind, I was like, who knows? You know what I mean? Like a million things could happen, and maybe it doesn't work out. So I wanted to make sure that the songs felt like they could be self-contained and complete.
Sure.
As it is.
Yeah, you could use them on the next album if you had to. Then
yeah, or even just like I think the two songs go really well together. And if we wanted to have, if the split didn't work out, we could have just put that out,
put an EP out, or double-sided.
I think it would feel very whole, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. I think we achieved the thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's. I'm telling you, it's fucking killer, man. It's killer. Yeah. I was like, wow, and I'm a fan of both bands, so it was probably gonna be that way, but you never quite know. You never know if and you don't really want to get a split where you're like, oh man, that first A side is great, but or they mailed it in. This shit's just kind of mediocre.
I mean, I would. Splits a lot. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it feels like, oh, you know what? Like these were probably like outtakes,
throwaway tracks,
throwaway sessions.
Yeah.
No, you don't hear that on either of these 5 songs. They're really fucking killer songs.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
So we'll move out of Dream Unending with this. the caveat that there is a real chance that maybe we could see some live dates at maybe festivals or even maybe a short, I guess an East Coast tour would be easiest for you guys because you're both kind of this way, but and probably would be cheapest. I mean, touring is really crazy expensive for, as you guys know, I'm sure. So that could happen. Are there? I'm almost afraid to ask. Not afraid to ask, but I kind of already assume Derrick already has some material written for album 3 already.
No.
Well,
no, maybe like one idea, but like okay. Before
you shot your wad.
No. What happened is, so here's what happened. All right. After we did the second record, and it went very well.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed having Phil sing on Secret Grief, Phil Swanson.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know if we didn't know at the time he would end up on So Many Chances on the split. But I had emailed him just to thank him for being on the SOS LP, and I was like, I had such a good time working on it, and I was so happy for you to be part of it, and your part's great. And he was like, it was really nice to do. I really like the lyrics you wrote, blah blah blah. And I kind of said to Justin, I was like, man, it would be so great to like do something else with him, but like I don't want to, not in a metal capacity.
Okay.
And I had started working on a collection of songs because I had gotten a Strat, and I was just so inspired by how it sounded and playing it that I ended up writing this record of sort of clean rock songs, sort of kind of like in the vein of, like I mentioned before, Chris Isaak or Jeff Buckley.
Okay.
Just sort of this like almost like modal blues stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of said, hey, I've been working on these songs. I'd like to show them to you. And maybe if you're into it, you could sing on them. So I sent them.
Can I interrupt one sec? Can you tell everybody who Phil is?
Yeah, Phil. So Phil Swanson is a singer who used to be in Justin's band Sumerlands. He sang on the first record.
The first album, okay.
He was also, and him and Justin worked together in another band called Vestal Claret. And he also played in a band called Hour of 13. And there's the Sumerlands record.
Yeah.
And
Amazon sent it to me, beat the shit like usual. Thank you, Amazon.
Yeah.
Broken spindles in the middle. And, Justin, I don't have the recent album. It's supposed to be delivered tomorrow, man. But I got a lot to say about that before we wrap up, because that fucking album wrecks me, man. Wrecks me. It is so goddamn good, dude. So good. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, and Phil also is actively in a band with Justin called Solemn Lament. So
okay.
Anyways, he heard the demos of these rock songs that I wrote, and he was actually really into it. So he agreed to it. So in the summertime, Justin actually came up to Canada, and we tracked this record together with a friend of mine playing bass. And then Phil recorded vocals, and it was still getting mixed. So instead of a third Dream Unending record, we just created a side project to the side project. And we worked on that instead. So
okay.
that kind of... Oh, go ahead. No, that's it.
No, in the interim, too, you had done this.
Oh, yeah, I did that record,
done
too.
For quite a while, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit quickly before we get into this quick? And then, Justin, I swear, we're going to turn to you and we're going to talk about you a bit, okay? Promise.
Well, hey, whatever you want to do.
Man. It's coming. I got a lot of high praise for that Sumerland stuff. So this comes out earlier this year. I think it was in April?
September.
I'm sorry, man. I apologize. I'm old.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was. It was only September. What the hell, man? It's been a long year. I was thinking for some reason it was April. And
maybe we talked in April.
We probably, well, no, we did our interview in May. So yeah, that's stupid.
Okay.
You intimated then to me things were going to happen in September. There was some stuff brewing.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that a new album was out yet until we talked later. Then you dropped it on me to be quiet about it, and I did. But so that comes out in September. But those tracks were done quite a while before, right?
Well, I think we recorded it in March or April of 23.
Oh, it was.
But,
Okay.
but we started working on the songs as a band, me, Payson, and Max, in, I guess, late 21, I want to say.
Right. I thought that's what you said. There was stuff you were working
Yeah,
on in
like
between Dream Unending.
20, I think 21, late 21, we started working on the songs. Yeah, because that's when we started. We also recorded the Aperture of Body tape in
Mhm.
22, early 22.
And that kind of was the impetus for doing the Dream Unending stuff then for the starting.
Yeah. And we, yeah, but like those songs I wrote back in the summer of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, but then, you know, a couple parts got rewritten or changed as time goes on. But yeah.
Sure, right.
But yeah, and then that record came out.
So Tumo comes out, and it was kind of a long wait, man. It had been quite a while since Planetary. Planetary was 19 or 18?
19,
right.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, man, the first time I saw you guys was not at Decibel Fest. It was a funny story. I went to Kung Fu Necktie in Philly. I'm sure you know that place.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys were playing, man, I cannot. There was a band from Arizona that was playing, black metal band that was opening. Fuck, I can't remember the name of it.
Are you thinking of A Feather and Bone?
No, it wasn't Feather and Bone. It was a band from Arizona, a black metal band. Man, it's like, it begins with an S.
Oh, Superstition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were cool, man. They were pretty fucking good.
Very cool band. Very cool band.
But it was funny, man. That place, I'm not a big fan of that place because it's like
me neither.
You are shoved in like a fucking can of worms, and being on the stage, it's tiny. You're in this. You're kind of trapped, right? You're trapped there. So I kind of stayed back because I'm too old to be up in the middle of that shit. I'm just too old, right?
Dude, I would have done the same. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just can't do. I was never a big pit guy anyway because I'm not a tall guy. So it's like I don't find that fun. I go to a show to listen to musicians, listen to tunes. But the funny part was I wanted an album, and all you had was CDs. I wanted to buy vinyl, and I'm talking to the guy that's like selling this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, how did I phrase it? I'm like, oh, I'm assuming he's a roadie. I'm assuming he's your roadie, right? And it was your bass player. Because I'm talking to him going like, yeah, man, are you kidding? He's like, yeah, we ran out of albums already. I'm like, are you kidding, man? Like, this is only like the third day on the tour. You're out of albums? He's like, well, $20 Spin's supposed to send us more in Detroit. I'm like, well, there you go. You lost a sale. It was just one of those funny things. I had no idea when I saw him up on stage. I'm like, oh, shit. I was kind of barking at the bass player, poor guy, you know.
Well, that's okay. He's not in the band anymore.
He's not in the band. That's true. That's been a while. I mean, you guys kind of decided to move on as a trio, and then you dropped this banger of an album. It's getting a lot of accolades, as you well know. You're in a lot of year-end.
It's done really well. People have really responded to it on like a deeper level than the other records too, I would say.
But there's a I would say a fairly significant stylistic change. I mean, it kind of heads more in a progressive, cynic-y, late death sort of vein.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more going on musically. There's a lot more. It's a lot less based on the cavernous riffs and Max's cavernous vocals. It's a lot more wide open. There's a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot brighter.
Right.
A lot brighter.
Was that just what you were writing? Was it affected by what you were doing with Dream Unending, or what was going on there?
So, all right, let me think. When I started working on Dream Unending stuff, those songs are in drop C sharp. So it's not that low tuned. It's basically half step down from standard, drop the low to a C sharp.
Low E, right.
So when I was working on that, because I didn't want Dream Unending to be low tuned like Death Doom.
Oh, what are you in for that? Are you in E flat?
For Dream Unending? Unending? Drop C sharp.
Oh, that's drop C sharp. Okay,
yeah. Okay. But because my guitar was in that tuning, if I ever came up with like a Tumult riff or a death metal riff, it was in that tuning instead of, Manor and Planetary or drop B, so it's a little lower.
Right? Okay, I was going to ask you if they're drop B. Wow. Okay.
So
detuned, right?
So I'm writing these. I'm playing in this brighter sounding tuning, obviously, because it's higher pitched. Kind of coming up with these more melodic ideas because I'm working on melodic music. and
Right.
Dream Unending is slow, so I don't want to play slow in Tomb Mold.
Right. Yeah, right.
And it was the summertime. I was outside a lot. I was exercising in my mom's backyard. I was going for runs. I was listening to Symbolic and Unquestionable Presence a lot, and Traced in Air, and like bands like Oblivion, like the thrash band, like from Canada, like the album From This Day Forward, or even like more of the angular thrash stuff that maybe is not that good but has its moments, like Siege is Even or Believer, like kind of like stuff like
Believer,
that.
man. They're
or a
local
band like
to me.
Oh fuck yeah. Or like, you know, like that more angular stuff, even like a band like Corner, Confessor, like just the stuff that was
a little bit of Atheist in there too.
Oh, for sure. Like I love Unquestionable Presence. Like I really love that record. So it's all this kind of stuff, but knowing too, like I'm listening to that, but I'm also listening to like, bands like Toto because I love Steve Lukather and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, like you get it.
You know the shit. That guy is
and Symbolic is a super melodic record. Like that's like a pop record, man. Like
very much so. Yeah.
So I had all these, I started crafting these songs that I was like, I want parts to be really like brutal sounding still, but then I wanted to open up. I want it to be interesting and exploratory. And now I think Tomb Mold, mid-era Tomb Mold, as I'll call it now, which is Manor and Planetary, I think sometimes it gets a little shortchanged because I think it gets kind of lumped into this sort of like low tune death or like cavernous death metal. But I mean, and you've said this to me before, like the songs are more interesting than that, than just on the surface. Like they're quasi progressive because they go places, but they're not considered progressive because the playing's not super angular. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I actually wanted to make this point earlier that the reason why I wanted to play music with you in the first place is because some of those riffs on Manor, like not so much like kind of the ass beater parts, but kind of the more unusual kind of eccentric riffs like that. That's the kind of stuff that really impressed me, and I thought was
the riffs on Abyss Walker, man, are just so fucking trippy, weird, man. You're like,
idle track.
I'm like, as a guitar player, I'm like, how the fuck did that kid come up with that? Don't pardon me when I call you kid, but
that's all right, man.
I apologize. I'm an old man.
Oh, you're good.
But I'm like, listen, I'm like, man, why didn't I come up with a riff like that? Those are riffs I want to come up with, but I'm not. It's not how I write. I write more like Steve Lukather or more like, fucking Jim Matheos is my guy.
Sure, I love those guys. And I love those guys, right? Like there's some Rush moments on the new record. Like,
oh yeah, there is.
And so, and I think I just started to feel more comfortable with my playing and my writing, and I also just didn't give a fuck. Like I was like, we can do whatever we want, man. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I remember like instead of showing Payson and Max like every song as it went, I just dropped it on them in like one shot. I sent them like 9 or 10 songs.
Now I gotta ask, were they like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, how did we suddenly go from fucking Autopsy, semi-Autopsy worship to Alan Holdsworth worship? What happened?
Well, luckily, my band, like my bandmates like me just love music, right? Like, and they love all that shit. So it wasn't a hard sell. And Max, Max was the first person to respond to me, and he was like, "Oh my god, like this sounds great. Like, it's way more mellow, like MELO, like melodic." He was like, "We can have a lot of fun with these." And Payson was just like, cool. Like, these songs seem hard. This is gonna be fun. Like, I can't wait to learn this.
Hard to learn, hard to play.
Yeah, like he's like, oh, okay, like let's go. Like,
it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Yeah,
like,
but it's
fucking go, right?
But I was like, oh, you got this, man. Like, it's nothing, right? And it was fun. And then when we started working on the songs, then it was just like, certain moments where we were in the jam space where like maybe like a song like Will of Whispers, like the first time we ran that song, and it was perfect. There was definitely like that energy in the room of like, we've really got something here.
Yeah.
And we never felt too tripped up about like, people, this being too different for people. Like it was that thing. It was a thing where,
support from Dave at $20 going, man, do what you do, just do what you do. It doesn't have to be the same thing. I mean, there are bands, let's be honest, there are bands that kind of rewrite the same album over and over, and we still buy them, right? Because we still and Autopsy would kind of be one of those bands, sort of, because they're an OG. They just have that sound. Yeah. And if they straight, let's be honest, if Autopsy suddenly did a Weather Report based sort of album, everybody'd be like, "What the fuck, man?"
It's the same with Cannibal Corpse, right?
Right, or Cannibal. They have to kind of write. They have to. They're kind of, because of their success, the level of success they're at. They're kind of, in a weird way, they're cattle shooted into kind of doing something somewhat similar album to album. Not exact, but somewhat, right?
Yeah.
You guys, and even Dream Unending. I mean, Dream Unending, the next album could fucking go way off center and do a Cocteau Twins album without any fucking heavy guitars, or you know what I mean?
It'd be fine. It'd be fine.
Do that, but you could.
Well, you never know, but like it'd be fine. And it's the same with Tomb Mold. Like I was like, it's not like we weren't trying to increase our audience with this record, not in like a way where it's like we don't want people to like it. It's just that wasn't a motivating factor, right? The motivating factor was like, we're three dudes who love each other and we just want to make music together, like, and revel in the joy of making something awesome, something that
it's artistic pursuit.
Yeah,
it's artistic pursuit of pleasing yourself first. If you write songs that you love and you love playing, and you want, that's infectious to everybody else, right? That is a fan. So
and we wrote, and these songs like tested my bandmates and me, like we really dug deep to make sure that we were really just bringing our A game on every front. Like, when we started working on the songs in the jam room, like I said to Payson, I was like, any idea you have, you just bring it forward. So if you want to play something different here, tell me. And I'm like, if I'm going to play something different here, I'll tell you. And I kind of was like, look, man, like I want there to be like 20 solos on the record. So for every solo I play, you got to play something too. And he was like, all right. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, let's just fucking go for it. Like, let's just do it. Like,
that's killer.
Because just like me, he just shedded his instrument. You know what I mean? Like he just
really got into it.
Yeah. And it was great.
Actually,
and
somebody asked real quick, just while I'm thinking of it, because my ADHD, somebody asked earlier and Justin, we're about ready to get to you. I promise. You're next.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. Man.
We're definitely going to talk. You are not walking out of here without me fanboying and jizzing all over the place over that Sumerlands.
whatever it takes.
It's disgusting, but I'm gonna do it. So, because I cannot stop listening to that fucking album over and over and over and over. Cool. I'm like, please make it stop. I have to take it out, and it's a year old already, so we got to find out what's going on with you. But to wrap up with Derrick here in Tomb Mold, what's the plan? Oh, the guy asked, actually, he wanted to know, can you talk, Derrick, a little bit about what Kevin's maybe added to your arsenal in terms of the instrument and what you're doing? Now, I just started taking lessons from Kev. I've only got 2 in.
Oh, Kevin, my teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just curious about how that may have affected you or helped you. And Andrew, actually, in the chat here, takes lessons from Phil Tugas.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
That's cool. The worm, so to speak.
I told a friend to take lessons with Phil, and he was like, best decision I ever made. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was happy to hear that.
Yeah. Chris from Innumerable Forms took some lessons from Phil.
So. Oh, nice. What have I learned from Kevin? Well, the one thing Kevin's done for me is like, I felt like I was like standing in front of a wall a bit with my guitar player, and he basically handed me a sledgehammer. You know what I mean? Like,
knock it down, just do it.
And a lot of it was just simple things, but just like, we talked about ways to expand my soloing vocabulary, looking at different kinds of chords and just like some theory stuff. But honestly, man, like the thing like that, I can't remember how it came up, but basically I told him I knew how to play like fingerstyle. So then he was like, oh, like, let's just do that. So then we learned some like Joe Pass and Michael Hedges, and that was fun. But then I was like, I bought a classical guitar, and he was like, why don't we just learn classical guitar? Which has been really fun. And I think now he's got a couple students that he does that with, but it's fun because I think for a long time he just didn't have much of a reason to play his nylon string or like use it in lessons or anything. So honestly, like I feel like for like maybe the last 6 to 12 months, we just do fingerstyle guitar.
You've been going crazy on the fingerstyle stuff. You literally.
Well, yeah, like with the
live in
thing.
that shit, right?
So little backstory about me is like, you know, when I was in my early 20s, like my late teens, early 20s, I only had a nylon string guitar that I played. So I learned how to play with my fingers, and I loved guys like, you know, like Mark Kozelik from Red House Painters. Before the world found out like how bad of a person he is, I adored those records, and I learned a lot of that stuff, and I learned how to play in alternate tunings, but I never tried stuff by Michael Hedges because it was just too above my pay grade.
Yeah, he's above everybody's pay grade. Come on,
more
man.
or less, right?
Kidding, right?
But I always had an affinity for guys like that, or guys like Don Ross, or you know, and Kevin turned me on.
Adrian Lugg, did you check him out?
Adrian Lugg, yeah, I did. Very good. And you know, Kevin turned me on to guys like Ralph Towner and stuff, which has like been very
Jazz, yep. Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing that Kevin did for me was when we started working on that stuff is when I started writing fingerstyle pieces for the first time in my adult life since I was like a late teen or something. So, and I would show him like, oh, here, I wrote a song, and he'd be like, oh, that's great. You should write more. And I did. And he's like, you should record all these songs. Like, you should make an album. And I was like, okay, I will. Like, I want to.
Yeah.
And he's,
so where are you at on that?
well, I recorded it. I'm just waiting for it to get mastered. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to put that out through self-release, or what are you going to?
I'm not 100% sure yet. At the end of the day, I'll just self-release it it depends on how lazy I'm feeling.
You shared a couple tracks with me. It's pretty fucking killer, dude. I mean,
thank you.
You're a good player, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, that's, you know, it's funny. Like, I've talked to Kevin about this, where I was like, you know, we write in bands, but the stuff we write for ourselves, like a solo piece, like it's a lot different because it's yours forever. Like, it's purely yours. You know what I mean? And there's something really like rewarding about it. But I think just like, I don't really have many people in my life that like I can like just like show my solo pieces to. Like, so having him to show them to was actually like a big motivating factor.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that's been very nice.
Gave you a lot of validation to go, yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
It's just the confidence, I think, to like chase it. You know what I mean? Which
and I
cool.
mean, you know, he's a good mentor in a lot of ways because he's had a Bandcamp page for quite a while. He's got a lot of really eclectic stuff up there. And
oh yeah,
you know, one of my favorite projects he does is, as much as I love Gorguts, and I fucking love Gorguts. I just have to make this segue. Luke, you got to grow the beard back, dude. Just grow the beard back. Just bring the beard, okay, man. We love you with the beard. Anyways, segueing back to the normal stuff here. You know, I love Gorguts, but I love Kev's playing in Veldoon, man.
Oh, dude, that's my favorite thing he's done.
Oh, it's so cool, man. I wanted to get up to New York to see.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
You know, it just, man, New York is so goddamn expensive to get into.
I think I've made the joke to him. I'm like, man, if I lived in New York, I'd be like, you have to let me play second guitar in that band.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping he comes down to Philly, which is much easier for me, or he comes down to Baltimore. Those are easier cities for me.
I look forward to them making new music. Like it's cool because and we've talked about this where it's like, you know, it's nice to hear like, you know, a different side of him, but we've also talked about like how hard it is to be like known as a metal guy and try to make non-metal music.
Yes.
You know, like
it's kind of like I think you know it very well because the whole hullabaloo about Decibel with you wearing shorts and non-metal fucking clothes and everybody, all the metalheads are like, oh my god, what?
They seem. I think they really struggled with just like how cute we look, and
that's it.
I think it's like unlocking feelings in them that they're not comfortable with.
Goddamn pretty, Derrick. I think that's what it is, man. That's the thing.
Is what it is.
Let's wrap up with you real quick here and get to Justin because we got to talk to him a bit.
Definitely.
What's the plans for Tumo right now? You going out on tour when?
Sometime next year. I don't know exactly when, but next year we'll start really like playing shows and plan out. We're playing Decibel Metal and Beer.
That's right. You're doing that in April next year.
Yeah, we're playing a really cool festival in Austin, Texas in April as well. We're going to do some other stuff and we'll do a tour for sure. But like for this year, it was just like, let's just play the couple shows and then wrap up all of our loose ends with all of our other stuff. And then next year will be like the year of Tomb Mold. And I'm excited, man. Playing shows after the record dropped was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's just a different kind of energy on stage. There's just a lot more joy. Not that there wasn't joy before, but it's a lot different now. We're just different people, and it's nice.
Well, you're how long's Sumo been around now? Is it over 10?
No, it's been 8 or 9 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean,
7 or 8. I don't know.
Yeah, when you started that band, you're a young man. You're young,
Yep.
just out of adolescence. You're just arriving at in your 20s, and you're kind of, the world is, everything's out there for you, right?
Oh yeah.
And now you guys, you're in your mid 30s. You're married. You're a married guy. You're,
Yep.
You don't live the rock and roll lifestyle. That is such a cliched thing. Anyways, there are guys that do it, but most of them don't go the distance, or they live it till the end, like Lemmy or something. And there's something to be said for that, right? But you guys have a different view of maybe the whole lay of the land. And let's be honest, man, since the pandemic, bands like Tumult, like Innumerable, like Sumerlands, all of these bands that are not massive, Kiss or Foo Fighters, that Rush or whatever, you have it's a different thing. It's not like those guys. Those guys live at the highest level. They're the alphas. You guys are the worker bees, right? You're
yeah, for sure.
And you're doing your thing, and you're bringing music to people that love what you do. You get off on it because you get up stage and you get to really get on stage and kind of just unleash artistically, right?
Well, like the fact that people like it is a bonus. You know what I mean? Like the real joy comes from making it with these people that you care about. And then the fact that people respond to it and resonate with it, like that's like incredible. Like that's something really wonderful. And we've talked about that where it's just like, we have this thing that we love and we want to share it with other people who love it. And, we wish we could tour all the time, but it's like not that feasible. You know what I mean? Like, but I think it's that struggle of wanting to do it all, but also wanting to do it on your terms.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
you don't want to go into massive. You don't want to take a credit card out and charge everything to a credit card to get through a tour, and then come up at the end and lose a shit ton of money. I mean,
no, and if we can avoid venues that take merch cuts, like we will, and like if we don't want to play for 28 minutes, like we want to play for 40 plus. You know what I mean? Like we've got fucking 4 records now and a bunch of tapes. Like we have so much we want to pull from. Like we just don't want to like shortchange ourselves. You know what I mean?
That's like the Gorguts Cannibal Mayhem tour that went out. I was like, man, I really want to see Gorguts for 50, 55, 60, 70 minutes. Yeah. I don't really want to go see them or BI. I want to see BI do a full set. And those tours are cool because they bring a really cool tour package in a grand package to a lot of people.
Totally.
But you're not getting. I'm not a Mayhem guy. I just never really got him. I never got into him. So
it's all right
for me, and I'm not really a Cannibal guy. I hate to admit it. I just am not. And so if I went to that show, man, there's a real good chance I'd be like, man, I'm out during Mayhem. I'm just, I'm old. I'm not into it, right?
Yeah.
But I think, that would have been a good tour for Tumult to be on. But I get what you're saying. You want to play for more than 28 minutes. You want to get out there.
Yeah, like if it's not our life, right? Like we have to pick our spots accordingly.
Right.
And that definitely that factors in. But yeah, anyways, long story short, we'll tour next year.
That's cool. We're awesome with that. Justin, let's talk a little bit about you. I want to get you involved in this last half hour if we can here a lot.
Well, first of all, let me give a shout out to Hook because I saw that he.
Answer that question real quick.
What's up?
You want to answer that, or do you know him?
Oh, he's just bringing up a band that I was in like almost 25 years ago, probably, and he was one of the boys in the crew and stuff. So
so he knows you then.
Band was that?
Yeah, I've known him for years.
Which band was that?
It was a band called FYA.
Okay.
We did a demo and we were supposed to do an EP, which would have been awesome, but then the band kind of like blew up right before we recorded that. That's actually one of my big regrets, is that we never got to record, because that band was cool.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah, anyway.
the acronym stands for
It stands for "fuck your attitude."
your attitude. I was gonna say fuck your ass, but you know,
yeah.
go on your way either, right?
But yeah,
Justin,
shout out to him. I haven't seen him.
About like
hope he's doing well.
kind of where you came from a little bit. So you're a Boston guy,
Boston guy. Yep.
and like, where did your formal entry into the rock and roll world sort of start? You started more with DIY punk sort of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, like straight edge hardcore, I would say, which is still like my passion to this day. But yeah. So I started playing in bands when I was like about 15, 16. And then yeah, like in high school. And then I did some more bands like in my late teens that started to play kind of like like East Coast, do mostly Northeast stuff, and then I was in another band, a hardcore band that ended up doing more tours, like U.S. tours, European tours. That was, like I said, that was a hardcore band. But I would say right when we were about to put out our first 7-inch, which was 2002, I had an opportunity to play on a record by that band Funeral from New Jersey, because I had become friends with the singer Daryl, and he invited me to record. It's just funny to talk about now that, like, I recorded this Funeral record like 6 weeks after I did this straight edge hardcore record, in 2002. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's
worlds, right?
Two different worlds, especially at that time where it was just like, now there's way more crossover. I think that a lot
way more. Yep,
you know what I mean? A lot of people I've noticed from Roots, either I've known them or I know about it, even if they don't want to admit it. So, but back then it was, but Daryl has like a hardcore punk background, and those guys were all cool with that stuff. But like, it was definitely weird back then, for sure,
Right.
But they introduced me, those guys introduced me to a lot of the kind of underground death metal demo stuff that I hadn't heard. I was into death metal before that. I was into like Cannibal Corpse, Entombed, Hypocrisy, just you know what I mean, like kind of the more popular touring stuff, like in the mid 90s.
Sure, right.
But I remember Daryl sending me, this. I mean, this is also like, this may have been even before file sharing. So he sent me a mixtape of like, it was like the Crematory Wrath from the Unknown demo, Demigod Unholy Domain demo, the Macabre End demo, like just a bunch of classic stuff that I had never heard before. You know what I mean? That really wasn't out there, because that stuff hadn't been like repressed or
widely.
Yeah, totally. And also, I feel like at that time, that style of death metal kind of was not in vogue, or death metal in general, I feel like wasn't even like that big at that time.
No, it was still very underground.
Yeah. So that was kind of my introduction to that world, and I became addicted, those guys kind of set me on that path, and I got into some of the other stuff,
What was your first major band? Like your first real, what you would term your first real band?
Well, it was a band called Down But Not Out, which was like a hardcore band.
Hardcore band, right?
Hardcore band. We did a really good demo, and we played a bunch of shows. Another band where I wish that we had done stuff after. I think we could have written like a really good LP, but that one also kind of, I don't know, it didn't self-destruct, but we kind of went our separate ways musically, and those guys ended up moving. And then after that, I did a band called Mental, which was kind of like a New York influenced hardcore band.
Okay.
Yep. And that one was like my first foray into playing all around the country, doing Europe and stuff. I mean, that like, it was crazy for me. Like the first show that we played in like a place like Chicago, that wasn't like East Coast. Like I just couldn't, I was like, these people like know our stuff, and like,
how that happened. Yeah.
Like it was just crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I did a lot of touring with that band. We kind of, wrote it out for a few years. But that was like my first like band, I guess, that kind of played.
Made a mark.
Yeah, sure.
It was significant. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in hardcore, young hardcore kids now love metal. You know what I mean? Like the ones that hear it, they're like, "This is still great." Like that's one of your bands that's like, it's still
I
going.
guess so. It seems like new hardcore that like has a different sound, but it seems like there are still younger kids that dig that stuff. You know what I mean? Because that band is mostly 80s hardcore influence.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the new bands kind of don't have that sound. But anyways,
That is that's a cool little point you bring up there, both of you guys. That with niche genres of music,
yeah,
that the guys like us, the nerdy guys, right? That we start to dig in, and we're kind of like fucking hunters and gatherers. We gotta, and I mean, it's very easy now because the internet affords you the ability to jump onto whatever. I mean, the peer-to-peer stuff started in the early 2000s, 99, 2000, and that allowed you to start, sharing, file sharing and stuff. And that really kind of opened up the world to a lot of people because when you think about it, like the thrash scene, I was an East Coast dude, right? That is the age of Hetfield and those, all those guys, the Slayer guys. They're my age, right?
yeah,
But the only way I found out about it was simply because of Kerrang magazine.
Yeah.
Back in the early 80s. So had I not bought that magazine, I never would have heard about Metallica until much, much later. Because they didn't, as big as Master of Puppets is, that shit was not played on the radio on the East Coast ever in 1986. It just didn't happen, right? You had to hear it on college radio, or you didn't hear it at all, or you read about it probably in a Euro magazine, not in a US based magazine. So same thing. The cool thing about the punk scene, and I'm not a real big punk guy, just kind of escaped me. I was just a little older, and then when I went back to it, I was kind of it's just not.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
But it's not that I don't diminish it or don't appreciate it, because I absolutely do. I do like some punk. I love the Bad Brains, stuff like that. But it's just it's not my thing where I find myself going to that often. But the thing about the punk scene that was really, really cool was that, yes, it was regional, but there was a real underground network of people, the zines and things, getting the message out about that stuff back then. So you had a lot of the hardcore kids, the straight edge kids, were really, they were tied into one another. And there was the New York scene, there was the West Coast scene, the Orange County scene, stuff like that.
Right.
But they knew about each other. Whereas in metal, it didn't quite work quite that way, I don't think, being a guy that was there at the time. When did you finally transition into playing non-punk, where you got into maybe doing more traditional metal or death metal or that kind of stuff? When was your first?
Well, like I said, in 2002, that was the first kind of blip as far as like metal goes, and then
exposure, right?
Say again.
Your first exposure.
Yeah, my first exposure, and also like
first
playing in like a metal band, and then in 2003 I started a band called Mind Eraser, which took elements of metal and put it into hardcore punk.
Okay.
Not just like, I mean, I think there are elements of death metal and elements of doom metal and whatnot. So that I feel like that was kind of a fusion of things. It wasn't metalcore, because I'm not like a metalcore guy, but it had elements of kind of underground extreme metal. A lot of it because like you're saying, that's when file sharing, SoulSeek, MP3s, that stuff really started happening. And so I was hearing all the international hardcore that I never heard before. A lot of like the like I said, a lot of the Scandinavian metal stuff that some people knew about in the States, but really hadn't arrived.
Well, you had to, if you knew about it, if you found out about it in Crank, you had to import that shit, and it was expensive because you weren't buying that stuff at $7 a record. You were buying it at 15 or 18, and then you were like, oh man, I can only get one record now instead of two with my whatever I've got left over, in the early 20s or wherever you're working a shitty job. Yeah, and I mean it was a different time. You talk about like LimeWire. I never forget the first time a buddy of mine's like, dude, you got to get on there. There's all these Floyd shows from the 60s on there. They're boots. They're pristine. And you go in there and you'd fucking at that point we had dial up, right? So
Yeah.
you go in
Takes
there
forever.
and it was literally like 14 hours to
Yeah, I
download.
remember those days.
For sure.
Like, and you're like, fuck, man, like, really? Is this, but you were so invested in it because it was literally like finding gold. Like, you
Yeah.
were like, man, I just found this thing that is so cool that nobody else has it, right?
Right.
And like when I first discovered Voivod with nothing face, so I'm a couple albums in, I'm already 5 albums
Sure.
in,
Oh yeah.
but nobody in my crew who were metal guys, nobody knew who Voivod was.
Right.
And I was like that. I was honestly a little bit like territorial about it. It's like, yeah,
No,
man,
I
this is
believe
mine,
it.
man. This is not for you.
I felt the same way. Yeah, it was crazy because it was, if it wasn't on Metal Blade or Relapse or whatever, like a lot of the stuff people just didn't know about.
Didn't know about it, yeah.
It's what it is, especially if you weren't there at the time. But yeah, so that was a huge game changer for me. And I actually, I wanted to start a death metal band, like an old school sounding death metal band throughout the 2000s. But to be honest, like I didn't have any friends that were into it. You know what I mean? I didn't know a lot of guys that could play
that kind of music. It can play that kind of music, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so I just started Innumerable Forms on my own.
When was that? Talk a little bit about
2007.
7.
The first demo. Yeah, I remember I did it myself. I used a drum machine, and I did it through GarageBand. I remember there was a message board at the time, like it was like oldschooldeathmetal.com that had like a forum. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I posted it on there because I knew a couple of Daryl, but like a couple of the Funebarm Evoking guys that I'd become buddies with.
Okay,
They posted it on there. A few other people who were kind of into that stuff too, and they're all really encouraging. So I ended up recording an EP in 2008. That actually didn't come out until 2010, but that's kind of the origins of Innumerable Forms.
And you did everything on it? You play guitars and
I play guitar on it, but I didn't play the leads. I wasn't like a lead guy. I'm still not. I wish I was. So my friend Chris Corey played the guitar leads on it. He played in Mind Eraser with me, and then later on he played in a band with me called Magic Circle that we did in the early 2010s.
Yeah, I forgot about Magic Circle. That's right. Is that still ongoing or is that done?
No, that broke up maybe like 2020, but the as you probably know, the singer of Magic Circle, my friend Brendan, he sings in Sumerlands, and amongst a bunch of other bands too.
How did Sumerlands come about?
Sumerlands was something that Arthur and Phil put together. They had a vision about doing something. I think the influence at the time were like Fate's Warning, Queensryche, Judas Priest, Jakey Lee era, Ozzy.
How did they meet?
They met because I think Arthur may have recorded Hour of 13. And,
okay.
Yeah, and Phil and Arthur became friends. So when that was forming, Arthur came to me. He was like, "Hey, I'm doing this new thing with this guy, Phil Swanson. You probably know who he is." And I didn't know who he was. He was like, "Yeah, I want you to play drums on it. I think it's up your alley. Like, I think that would be cool." You know what I mean? So he sent me a demo of what turned out to be that song, The Guardian. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in. We got to do it." Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And that was like 2000. I think he sent me the first demo in like 2013, and then we recorded. We before that first album, we actually have a 3-song demo that came out in 2014.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
like an official demo tape or
an official. You know what I think that Jason Tarpey from Eternal Champion was going to release it on Cyclopean, but I don't think the hard copy ever came out.
Ah, bummer.
Yeah, maybe one day we do it. I don't know, but yeah. So that was 2014 when we recorded the demo, and then we did. And
so this came out. When did this come out? I can't read. It's too dark in there.
We recorded it summer of 2015, and then it came out in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say, I prefer the new singer just a tad. That's not That's not a not a shit on Phil. It's just I just prefer it a little bit. Man, dude, I'm telling you, the fucking riffs are just it's not just the riffs, it's the songs, man.
Yeah.
The songs are so goddamn good. And I don't have the second one. It's coming. Dream Killer, right?
Dream Killer, yeah.
I have been listening to that non fucking stop.
Oh,
I'm like,
appreciate
make
that.
it end. Just please take it out of the, take it off the laptop. But I can't, man. I just got to keep listening to it. It's so damn good. I'm coming to it late. I remember a bunch of my dudes going, man, you should, Jeff, you got to check out Sumerlands. It's way in your lane. Because I still love shit like Rat and Dobson. All that 80s stuff. Not so much the Crew and the LA Gun stuff. I like the more melodic, but with the fiery guitar players, with the really good vocalist, that's the stuff I want to listen to a lot because that's my era, right? I'm in high school during that period of time.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of Dokken on that new and the first one too, but
I just in the melodicism of it, right? And the playing isn't so much in that vein, but there's a lot of great riffs. You guys are playing Terror Fest, I think, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, when is that? I can't remember.
I want to say March.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming up.
I was going to ask, what do you got coming up with Sumerlands then?
Well, we're going to do Europe end of February, early March, maybe like 10 shows or something like that. And then, we're doing Pacific Northwest, we're doing Seattle. We're doing Hell's Heroes in Texas.
Yeah, the Houston, Texas festival.
Texas. We played that a few years ago. That was awesome. We're playing again.
Any East Coast stuff at all?
Yeah, we're playing New York City on February 25th. I think that's a Sunday, I think. Yeah, it's in New York. Yeah. You say because if you're close to Believer, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
I'm in Lancaster. I'm near the Amish country. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So for me, New York is 3 hours, and it's not that I haven't done it. I've done it many times. Gone to many shows.
Yep.
Left work at noon, drove up for a show, got home at 5 a.m., went to work at 7. I've done that way too many fucking times. But guess what? I can't as a 57-year-old guy. I can't do
Fair
it.
Enough. Yeah, understood.
I don't have that fire like I once did. But
we played Philly last month, and it was awesome. We played Philly last month. Derrick was
there.
I was there, yeah.
Underground Arts. That was fun.
Where?
Underground Arts.
And we played at like 8 o'clock sharp. So I was like in the hotel by like 10 o'clock, It's great.
How did I miss that? Who were you with?
It was like, it felt like a very unpromoted show, but the turnout was still good. It was with that band, Hallis.
Well, Hallis. Oh, yes, I did notice that. I didn't notice you were on the bill. Shit.
Yeah, I think we got added later. I think we kind of like forced ourselves on the bill because we liked that band and we were like, fuck it, we should try to play.
Yeah, they're from Finland?
Sweden.
Okay. Yeah, really cool proggy in the Summerland vein. Because I'm going down to I love Underground. Going down to see your boys, the Horrendous guys, playing.
Oh, nice.
On the 28th. Yeah, they're playing with your other boys, Outer Heaven, are playing. So.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah. I played on their record. It was fun.
Yeah, gonna go do that. So what's going on with Sumerlands other than the touring? You guys working on new material and here's the question I have for you. Like, where and how the fuck does Arthur find time to write riffs when he's doing all this other stuff?
Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I mean, like we started recording what was Dream Killer in like February of 2020, right before the pandemic.
Yeah, we hung out, remember? Yes. I was in Philly.
Yep.
And we got together for a little hangout, and that's what you were there doing drums for that record.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say like 60% of that record was written, and we just like we're like, fuck it. Well, this may be the only time we get to have a week to do it. So we kind of pieced it together in the studio, as far as like arrangements and riffs wise. And that was the last time we actually like wrote for the band, and that was
It's
what
been a while.
almost 4 years ago, I think. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I want to do new stuff, but like Arthur is wildly successful doing his thing.
Crazy busy, yeah.
Crazy. I'm
So
just
good.
I'm blessed that we even get to like play shows and stuff. You know what I mean? But and also another thing that I forgot to say, while we were recording Dream Killer, we didn't have a singer yet. I don't think. Like I don't like because Phil
That's
had
right.
left, and we were like, wow, who the fuck we can get to sing? You know what I mean? And he was like, and Arthur was like, if you could pick one guy to sing on this record, anyone, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, who would it be? And I said, Michael Bolton would be number one.
The best answer.
Yeah,
You told me this.
Yeah,
That's
not even
the best.
joking. I
Where
think
am I going to live? Okay,
he
I
would
can
have
see
been
it.
amazing. He would have been amazing, but that's that's a pipe dream. I said, but Brendan, like, because Magic Circle was only playing a couple times a year. We put out a record, like we weren't really doing much. So I was like, I don't think it would be a big deal if Brendan sang on this. I think it would be fine. You know what I mean? Like people know that like these bands are kind of like we're not like full-time giggers with it. You know what I mean? Like I think it's all good. I don't think anyone would care. So I was like, maybe we should have Brendan do it. So that's kind of what happened.
And he went for it. He was cool with it. So and he's you bring up another really key thing that and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine, but you guys aren't full-time band guys, okay? You're not Metallica, you're not Yes, you're not Foo Fighters or whatever. What do you guys do to pay the bills? Do you mind if I ask that, Derrick?
No, that's fine.
Go ahead.
For many years, I managed a boba tea shop. Do you know what bubble tea is? It's a type of drink. It's a Taiwanese dessert tea drink.
Okay.
Pretty popular in the Northeast. We had a shop in town for a number of years. So I did that. And one of my best friends owned it, which meant that like
needed to take off
and very flexible. And he played music too. So if he had to go away for a couple of weeks or a month, no problem. If I had to do that, all good. You know what I mean?
That's covered, yeah.
That ended up closing down at the end of the pandemic because COVID was pretty rough for us, you know what I mean, business wise. And also the area where we had it is changing, and they were bumping up the rent to like $10,000 a month. Obviously,
it's crazy.
It is what it is. Yeah, but anyways, my brother-in-law started a record store in 2020, and I work at the record store. Same thing, you know what I mean? It's like flexibility. Yeah, a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, you need that, man, because if you got to go in and do sessions or whatever, it's like, how about you, Derrick? What do you do, man? Do you mind saying?
Oh yeah, I work at a cafe.
Okay,
it's nice. It's like all I've done my adult life is like working cafes. I used to work for coffee roasters and do like wholesale management and training and education and stuff. But I like being a barista. It's fun. And yeah, I have the ability to like fuck off when I need to.
Yeah.
It's very
nice.
That's
the thing with doing the music thing. If you've got a even remotely successful career where you can do touring, you go to Europe for 3 or 4 weeks, you really, unless you own your own business.
Yeah.
You can't kind of take off. And a lot of times, if you own your own business, you probably are making a lot more money doing that than you are going out on the road to,
probably. What I mean? And like it's not like I'm very fortunate because I like where I work. Like I like my boss and I like my coworkers, and to have the freedom to go and do as I need to do is great. I did manage the place for a few years though, like during the pandemic, because I was like, well, I'm not doing anything else. Like I'll run the shop for a while, and that was fine too. But just knowing that I have a little bit of a safety net, like at least something to come back to, like work wise, is good. And yeah, it's a nice job.
We'll wrap up here shortly. Justin, what's on your immediate docket as far as what do you have going on that maybe everybody should know? By the way, before I forget, because of my ADHD or whatever, I have like 8,000 letters after my diagnoses. Just all the links for these guys. Well, a lot of links. I dropped a shit ton of links in the description here. I've got Facebook links. I've got $20 spin links. I've got Profound Lore links. I've got Relapse links. Then I've got personal links. Justin, you don't have any like personal social media though, right?
No.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it.
I mean, like, I'm a lurker, you know.
Yeah, but hey, listen, some people don't want it, and I will tell you, it's a massive addiction to some point. For me, trying to promote this show and trying to get more, names on it and people that I want, not just names. I want to make something clear. Anybody that's watching, I interview people I really want to interview. I'm not going to just interview some dude. Like if somebody approached me and said, "Hey, you want to talk to Paul Stanley?" I'd be like, what am I going to talk to Paul Stanley about? Other than the fact that Kiss was very pivotal for me getting into hard rock. Yeah, but what would I really talk to him about? I don't know what I'd get 15 minutes and it'd be a hard in.
Yeah, you wouldn't get anything good. Like you wouldn't get like talk about the conversations between you and Gene when you want to kick Ace Frehley out or something.
Right.
Like,
No,
you're not going to get that stuff. You know what I mean?
It's all going to be politically correct for the most part. It's all going to be sanitized.
Safe interviews. Softball.
Right. And I want to talk to people that I creatively respect and am into. And so it's like, that's why I go out and get I have a pretty eclectic group of people that I've spoken to. And I include you guys in that. And so, but there was a point to this. Where was I going with? Oh yeah. All the links are in the description. Go check these guys work, check the work out of these guys and buy the stuff, man. I know in this world of downloading and, it is kind of the thing. It's kind of the way. And everybody always says, physical media, it's going to go away. And not when there's people like us that fucking really love having something like this and kind of treasure having a really, really unique, cool package of something. This means a lot to some of us. And when I die, my kids are going to be like, who the fuck is Tomb Mold? You know what I mean? But luckily my kids are pretty adventurous and they might dig it and they might, and
you never know. You never know.
This is also, I know this is anecdotal evidence, but I can tell you, working at a record store, there are a lot of young kids who are
sometimes like
didn't grow up with the the physical, tangible record, and they want it. You know what I mean? They understand that it's something special.
They get it. They get it.
Yes.
Yep.
I gotta say, like the record store Justin works at is awesome. I visited
the name of it?
It's called Wanna Hear It Records.
Yeah.
In Watertown.
In Watertown, like in Boston.
Online? Do they have an online?
Yeah, I can send you a link.
Yeah, get Derrick to forward
I will.
me or send it an email.
It's a great shop, and I follow the Instagram. And I'll text Justin. I'll be like, you guys had a listening party for a record and people came to hear the record. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. And you'll even be like, yeah, I know, it's wild. Like, but it's people still buy records. Like, it's great. But like, but if you can't buy a record, like go to the show if you can and like buy a t-shirt or something. Like,
man. I mean, it's the lifeblood for you guys. And it makes, you're going to, if you can, you're going to go out and hit the stage because you love that interaction, that energy, that energy exchange that we all dig from going to shows. As a fan, I've played shows too. It's a high you can't explain. It's a weird psychological thing that just puts you in a space of connectivity with other human beings that dig what you dig. But, it's not cheap. Gas is very expensive still.
Yeah.
To get around, show to show food, just to survive.
And if you can only like afford to listen to a band via streaming, but you really like that band or you liked a record they made, you should just try to contact the band. If the band has a Bandcamp or an email that you can write them to, writing to a band and being sincere about it might mean more to them than the $13 they make off a t-shirt. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, go the extra mile in a way where it doesn't cost you anything, but maybe 5 minutes of your time.
Yeah, showing
like,
that
stuff. I think that stuff, to me, is more meaningful than anything else. Like, I could make negative dollars off music, but if people tell me sincerely why they like something that I wrote, like I'm gonna carry that with me more than the $13 I might make off a t-shirt or something like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like that
That's a
stuff.
great point. That's a great point.
That stuff sticks with you much longer. Like
Especially
those things we
for
don't forget.
artists, especially for artists like you guys that are at a certain level. I mean, you can write to James Hetfield and he's never going to see it. He's got a whole
Yeah, sure.
crew of
Yeah.
people. But you know what? But on the same token, those guys were where you guys are.
Oh yeah.
And things just happen to line up right.
Sure.
And those guys work their fucking asses off. Man.
Oh yeah, of course.
You cannot take that away from them. They lived that lifestyle of beating the shit out of themselves for 18 months in 2 years and taking 2 months off maybe to recharge and go right back at it again. And so you can, and I still love a lot of the early Metallica. I don't follow what they've done ever since then, but I gotta respect what they've done for metal, what they've done for music. They're still pretty uncompromising, and they kind of help pave the way for bands like yours.
Sure.
Aerosmith and Metallica were the two bands that really got me into like guitar music. Period. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, and I'll get you guys out of here. Let's talk real briefly. I know Derrick's like, yeah, sure. You say that every time. And then 6 hours later, no. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, what are you listening to these days? And what have you gone to any cool shows lately? And I'll throw my hat in the ring. But Derrick, how about you? What are you listening to these days? What are if you had to do sort of a end of the year thing, what's on your end of the year list as far as what you're listening to?
Well, it's funny, man, because I do use a streaming service, obviously, like most people. And I use Spotify, and when Spotify at the end of the year, they always do your Wrapped, right? Like, what did you listen to the most this year? My most listened to artist of the year was Bruce Hornsby. So maybe I'm like a bad read on listening to music in general.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, very good. But as far as new stuff go within the metal sphere, like I did love that Horrendous record. I am biased because I love those guys, but I love their writing. I love their approach. I love the new record by the band Afterbirth. It's called In But Not Of. Cody, the guitar player, and I, that band, correspond with each other. We're both fans of each other, but like that band was highly inspiring when they put out their record 4-Dimensional Flesh in 2020. Like that really kicked my ass in a way that I wanted to write a record that good. And that's why I wrote The Enduring Spirit. Like, yeah. And I told them as much. Like I make no bones about it. Outside of metal, I really like the saxophone player named Lakeisha Benjamin, who put out a record this year. Really cool stuff. Jazz for me in general is just a crapshoot because it's either just not engaging enough or too boring. But this record was like a good mix of like sounding modern, but still having some sort of mid-60s Impulse Records flair to it.
Nice.
Really great playing. Just great playing. As far as shows I've been to recently, I saw Meshuggah on Friday.
Did you?
Oh, dude, it was so good.
Who was In Flames and who else?
Yeah, it was okay. So I think the tour is Whitechapel, In Flames, and Meshuggah. I did not see Whitechapel.
But Martyr played, right? Did Martyr play at your show?
No.
Okay, because they opened one show, I guess, over in Quebec, I assume. Yeah.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
See, that would have been. I would have taken that for sure.
Yeah, they reformed and did the thing back in November. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So, I like Meshuggah. Fine. Like I like listening. I like hearing it, but I don't actively listen to them. Yeah. But my wife is a big Meshuggah fan. So when they announced the tour, she's like, "We gotta go," and I was like, "Fine by me. Like I won't say no." because I really do like the guitar player in that band. When he decides to do like an actual solo and not just like a tap thing in the weird time,
You talking
it's
about
really
Tortador, or are you talking
yeah
about
yeah
Angstrom? Okay, right.
and
Yeah,
and
he does
he
the whole island.
yeah, but he's got great expressive playing. Um, we had to sit through In Flames, not my thing.
Not
Like
my
the
thing at all.
early stuff, cool. New
I'm
stuff
not even that into
is
the early
cop
stuff.
metal. No thanks.
Yep.
But Meshuggah were fucking awesome. Great light show. One of the better light shows I've seen. The best light show I've ever seen, and this might make everybody wince, is the band Fish, but whatever. But as far as metal bands go, I gotta say, Meshuggah take the cake. But also, I couldn't get over how well it sounded for like 8-string guitars. Like the level of clarity was so like top tier. It was just like incredible. Wow. I loved it. And they played for like over an hour maybe, and it was just fucking sick. That was really good.
Have you messed with any extended range guitars? Have you gotten into 8 and 7?
No, like I never because not because I don't want to.
I struggle.
But I'm left-handed, so it's hard to buy guitars in general. Yeah.
Find them. Yeah.
And anytime I'm like buying a guitar, or maybe even like I actually ordered a custom guitar from that company Kiesel. And I think it'll arrive within the next month.
They make great instruments. My daughter has a 7, man. It's a really
fuck yeah.
guitar.
So there's the thing where it's like I could gamble and buy a 7-string, but I'm like, if I don't like it, I'm gonna be so bummed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love to buy like a 7-string guitar for like $500. Actually, something Kevin and I talked about, which I think he said was something he heard from who's the Dawkins guitarist? What's his name? George Lynch. So apparently George Lynch at some point wanted to have a 7-string guitar, but with an extra high string instead of an extra low string.
Cool. That's interesting.
And like that is cool. Like I'd be like into something like that. You know what I mean?
George makes his own guitars now, and they're
really?
They're Mr. Scary guitars. They're spicy, dude. They're like $7-8 grand. I'm just like, I
don't have that kind of money.
No, I don't either. And I mean, like, you saw me post. I sent you a bunch of pictures of all the stuff.
Yeah.
I ended up taking the Lifeson back, man.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I just could. I did not like the way the high E string was fretting close to the nut, and it had a Floyd Rose. Yeah, Floyd Rose locking. And I tend to play, because I have shorter fingers, I tend to pull down on the strings ever so slightly. So when I would go to solo on it, or I go up on the high E, it would roll off the edge of the fucking fretboard. I'm like, what is up with that?
Would it get stuck?
Yeah, it would roll over the edge.
Dude, that happens on my Jackson, and I
never ran into that. And
dude, even when we were playing like a 2-mold gig, I played my Jackson, and at parts I would be playing and notice it, and I'd have to like stop and like grab across the neck, pull it back. I don't know what the problem is. Like, I don't know how you fix that. Did that have a Floyd? Yeah, it does. Yeah. But it's not when I'm not engaging the Floyd, right? It's just literally like it gets caught on one of the metal fret bars. I think I just need to file it down a bit. I've had to do that on other guitars. Like I file down the frets on the bottom side of the neck.
Like John says here, nothing ruins the party like fretting too close to the nut. I agree. And as an old man, it's more problematic than you would think. But I took the Lifeson back after 3 tries. I brought 3 in because I special ordered it. They brought it in, and the second one I went to pick up, we opened the pack. First of all, the box comes out, and I noticed right away the box was not a brand new box. And I'm like, uh-oh. We open it up. I can tell the minute we pull it out, it's come off the wall or been used. And I open it up, and right there on the second fret is a big, like dime-sized blemish in the fretboard. I'm like, dude.
Brutal.
So that goes back. And then they bring the third one in, and the third one, the case is all bitched up, so it's not new. And I'm like, I thought you said this was brand new. He's like, well, that's what they told me. We open it up, there's buckle rash all over the back of it. I'm like, you know what, man? I think I'm done.
Dude, that's brutal.
Yeah, and that's through Guitar Center. So I mean, luckily I could easily get my money back.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm good. God. I've got the PRS 22. I've got the Cantrell Epiphone, which I love. Cool. and I've got the Dean. So I think I'm cool with 3 guitars. I mean,
Um,
especially since I'm not even playing out live. It's like, what do I need? How about you, Justin? What are you getting into? What have you been jamming, and have you seen any good shows lately?
I haven't seen any real great live stuff. I mean, I can tell you what I've been listening to lately.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, my album of the year is Too Moldy Enduring Spirit.
hell yeah.
Ah, what a
Thanks,
bunch
buddy.
of gratuitous ass kissing.
Well, I mean, listen,
Well, you have to
I had
understand.
gotten it months in advance. I'm not trying to be braggadocious or anything like that. So I spent some time with it, and it's
Well,
it's pretty incredible. I'm sure other people can articulate it better than I can, but I was pretty blown away by it.
well, Justin is closer to it than most people because one, he heard versions of songs before they were
Way
recorded.
before, yeah.
Way before, years
And
before.
but not only that, he was the person I would vent to every week about the band. You know what I mean? Like if we had a rough spot, because like we making that record, like learning the record, like we all went through our own like humps with it. You know what I mean? Like I've watched Max get mad at his playing. I've watched Payson get mad at his playing.
Sure.
And for me it was different a little because I was like, I wrote it, so I had much more time with it. But then even I got so ahead of myself. I wrote so many solos ahead of time that I started to second guess myself. I got complacent with the record at times, like all these feelings. And then, but once you make it, it was like great.
I got a question
I'm
for you on
actually
the
glad that
soloing thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm actually glad that you guys went through such austerity and hardships because here in the record, and it's just like every part just I don't know, like how could Max think that like this, like how could he be weird about these drum parts? Like they're incredible. Like I was blown away.
He's a killer drummer.
It's just amazing. You know what I mean?
It was
Payson solos. I know, he had some trouble or had to do some soul searching.
For sure.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like he came out on top. I don't know what else to say. It's incredible.
Oh yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
Derrick, do you
maybe that's what it needed.
Real quick on that, the solo thing, is most of your solos mapped out or all of them, or is there any improvised stuff on the album?
On the record I went in pretty much ready to go.
Rehearsed, okay,
only because it's different when you're working by yourself because you're the only person on the clock.
Yeah, right.
So, but when you got other people, and I also had to play bass on that record, and playing bass on that record is not like playing bass on a Dream Unending record. Like I snapped pretty hard. I'm not ever going to be known as like a bass player, but I don't like, I watch people play bass in bands and I know they can't play what we played on that record. It's fine. But
yeah.
I definitely, meditated over that for the month going into the record, like how I wanted to approach it. And I knew I wanted to play hard and I wanted to play technical, but knowing also like how to like just get my way through it, but have my moments with it. And I was happy that my bandmates let me have my moments, like during some of the clean parts where the bass cuts through more, let me have my Geddy Lee moments and all that stuff. Like, but with the solos, I went in, I had it all written.
Okay, so you were pretty well rehearsed. Yeah.
Yeah, but some of them like, came later in the game. Like some I wrote pretty early and some I was like, I'll write a solo here and I'll do this. And some of it I needed to know, some of it I didn't know what Payson was going to play, but then when I heard what he played, I was like, oh, this is going to work out really well. Like on the song Fate's Tangled Thread, the 4th song on the record, I do this super bright solo, and then he does this like wah-wah, like Cantrell style solo into this crazy like bit crushed little section. And then I do this big epic solo at the end of it, but how all of it sounds together, it's fucking crazy. Like it's so sick.
No, that album is very much in my top 5 as well. So and any other quickies there, Justin? Anything else you want to throw in?
Just what I'm listening to?
Yeah.
Today I listened to Legend, Death in the Nursery. You ever heard that one?
No, who's that?
That they were like a new wave of British heavy metal band. I think that LP
Ooh.
came out in '82. I feel like people don't talk about it that much, but I always loved it. It's got some prog leanings. You should check it out. It's streaming.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That
And,
sounds good, man, because I love that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm always listening to Trouble, Youth of Today.
Oh, really?
I listen to those every week. You have to. It's a healing force.
Nice.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know why. Usually this time of year, I usually kind of dip into the new wave of British heavy metal stuff. So I listened to the Tyrant '81 demo recently. I love. That's my favorite of. That's actually probably my favorite demo of that era. That one, I feel like that's almost even underrated too. But yeah, so that's what I've been listening to.
Segue with the Geddy Lee thing there, real quick. I went to see Geddy's book tour in Philly.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and man, dude, I'll tell you, I was so close to tears like almost the entire fucking time. I'm like, just like it was so intense. I do very much believe him and Alex are coming back. I do very much.
I know I know it seems
they're
a
dropping
little weird, but
they're dropping all the stuff, and whether they come back as Rush doing Rush or whether they come back as Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson doing Rush and maybe pull Portnoy and Carey and all they can choose.
That's the thing, man. They probably have their pick of the litter when it comes to drummers.
Any guy in his right mind that wasn't tied up is going to say, "What? Of course I'm there."
Yeah.
So that's bittersweet, but I love those guys so much. They mean so much to me. That music means everything to me. So it's like,
oh yeah,
I'm cool with it. I'm okay. It's kind of like when Cantrell and Mike Inez and Sean came back with Alice. I'd seen Alice with Lane.
Yeah.
And went on the Facelift tour. They opened for Extreme of all things.
Hell yeah. Boston band, right?
They Boston was Extreme. But they crushed them. Alice just destroyed them. And
yeah, believe that.
That's another huge band for me. And when they came back, I'm like, man, I just don't know. And then William came out and he was just fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I think that first record back, that's like
so good.
I loved that record when it came out.
So good.
Yeah.
And that dude is cool, William Duvall. He's an old hardcore punk guy.
Hardcore punk guy with Christ. What was the band?
Neon Christ.
Neon Christ. Yeah. Good stuff.
Played in Blastful. Yeah. Oh yeah. That dude's legit.
I got a couple albums I want to throw at you, and then we'll get out of here. One is Wayfarer, the new Wayfarer album, man. Wow.
Yeah, I listened to that. It's good.
Really good.
I did that one.
American Gothic, is that what it's called? American Gothic?
Yeah.
Really, really fantastic. Of course, the Star Path album is just absolutely amazing, guys. So good. Yeah. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Somebody kept talking about them to me.
Oh, which record? The one with the reptile on the cover?
Dragonic, Petrodragonic something or other. Yeah. What do you think?
That band has so many albums. I can't keep up with them. And some of it I hear and I like. Some of it I hear and I don't like. But
Derek, you think I'd be into them?
I don't know. So they're coming to
their records.
But
they have so many releases, man. It's crazy.
I think
you probably have to have a whole bin just for the records they have. Sure. But they're coming to Toronto in the summer, and I think I'll just go see them and just to see what it's like.
I might too,
you know what I mean?
To see what the vibe is. It's kind of like they strike me as like a Grateful Dead that's more garagey and psyche.
Well, that's the thing. Like I think people have people who know me as a Fish enthusiast and a Grateful Dead enthusiast are like, you should like this band. But the difference is like the thing about with Fish and the Dead is they don't have many studio albums, right? Like the beauty is in the live
live stuff. Yeah.
No, that said, like I actually prefer, when it comes to studio records, I listen to more Fish studio albums than I do Dead. But both, I mostly like the live thing. But that's why I'm like, well, what if I just go see King Gizzard live? Maybe that'll be the thing that sells me on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'll feel like I can make an informed decision as to whether or not they're for me or not. But I know people who like them and they're like, especially that record. Like people I know who like that record, they
Yeah, it's a little bit
fucking
more heavy metal, I would say.
yeah. It's
Like
a
hard rock.
metallic sounding record. Like
They have another one called Rats. What's it called? The Rats Infest. I think that's kind
okay,
of Voivodian a little bit, and so I kind of went that way recently and bought like 4 or 5 of them, and I think I've got
Yes.
enough. I don't think I need any more. I don't think I need like the whole catalog. But I wondered, Derek, if that was a band that you'd sniffed around.
Yeah, because they're like, I don't know if they're like. It's funny, like as much as I love Fish and the Dead, I'm not like much of a jam band enthusiast. Like I don't dig all the way deep, but I don't know if they're like part of that scene or if they're just sort of adjacent to it because of their ethos.
I think they're more adjacent, and the ethos is that they kind of do it. They do a niche style album, then they turn to another niche style album, and I kind of found that like I can't remember the Polygon something bananas Polygon. I can't remember the names of the albums. They have weird names for albums, but I kind of found like the more that I forced myself to listen to them, the more I kind of started to get it. Like the more I started to dig it. Are they going to be an all the time sort of listen? Probably not. But yeah. So, and I got Heimdall jamming right now from Enslaved, one of the best bands ever.
Nice.
That's going to be on a year-end list too. So,
did you listen? Do you like that band, Dodime's Guard, or however you say it?
Yeah, that new one, Black. What's it called? Black Light Current. Somebody else.
Something like that. And the album cover reminds me of that Between the Buried and Me record, Colors.
Yeah, it does. That's it's a pretty cool album. I kind
of got tipped off on it. It's like my wife was listening to it a bunch. And she was like, I don't know this band, but this record got recommended to me, and I fucking love it.
Well, they got a couple other, I don't know the guy's name. People in the chat will know better than me. But
yeah. It's like one guy like who kind of writes everything, right?
Yeah, he's the dude, and he's also in Vued When Ends or something like
Vedon's Bird or whatever. Yeah. I know the band. I know the band. Yeah.
Somebody will know it here. Black Medium Kern is the name of that album we were talking about. Yeah. Really, really good. I'm gonna probably be snagging that too. And
it's a cool record. It's a cool record.
That's the great thing about doing what I do here. You know, I don't make any money off this. I'm not looking to make any money. I do this for the love of the music, to meet cool people and interact and share this really awesome thing that, you know, we all have in common, which is great music. And you guys, between the two of you, are putting out some of the best. Thanks, and man. I want to thank you so much for being here.
No, it's our pleasure.
Yeah. I hope that we get to see you guys live. That would be a real treat, man. I mean, cross our fingers and hope the stars align. And
there you go.
That's tough. I mean, you guys, like you said, you gotta come up with the right chemistry to make.
It would have been more fun. It would have been more fun for us to completely outsource the band to a bunch of other people, and then we could just go watch them play, you know, and then critique it after.
That would be pretty weird, but that's going to be Kiss, right? Kiss is going to do that now, apparently. So. But,
really? Is that a thing?
That's the talk, that they're going to be like basically
like giving the gimmick to someone else.
Either that,
man, or that band is so funny. Like I loved that band growing up. Like they were like the first like rock band that I really sunk my teeth into. But I never went to see them because
I saw once. My very first show before both of you guys were born.
What year was that?
1979.
Yeah, wow.
So Dynasty era.
Yep, Dynasty. Yep.
That was probably the last good year to see them play.
That's when I dipped out, because they did the 4 solo albums, which only Ace has really resonated much with. Paul's is pretty good too.
Yep.
Jeans is just batshit weird, and Peter's is like it's an old man's album. Yeah, it's okay. It's R&B.
I was gonna say, I've never actually listened to Peter's, but I have to imagine it sounds like Rod Stewart.
No, it's very 60s, 70s, or 50s and 60s R&B.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's just
the Paul and Ace ones I've only ever listened to.
Yeah, and those are the best ones, and
because they're the two guys that I like in the band. Like,
well, Ace and Alex Lifeson are 2 reasons I picked up a guitar. They're
for sure, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Ace was the first guitar player that I liked. You know what I mean?
He's terrible, and he's actually terrible as a guitar player.
He's not that very good. Yeah,
man. But he had the it factor. He was the spaceman, and
yeah.
So yeah. Hey, hang on, guys. I'm gonna end it here, and then I'll just chat briefly, quick on the end, and
For
get
sure.
you out of here. So, guys,
Yeah.
everybody that popped in, we had as many as 25 people in here.
Awesome.
Not bad on a weeknight.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
With
yeah.
virtually no advertising. We put it up yesterday was when I put all this. Actually, this morning is when I got the artwork done. So I was kind of stressing over that, but I've had a lot going on. So everybody, thank you for stopping in. Remember, hit the links below. We'll get that record store link from Justin and add it at some point. And, buy these guys CDs, buy their merch. Literally, seriously, guys, I don't know what I paid for this, $14, but that's like 3 cups of Starbucks coffee. Unless you're going to Derrick's barista, then you got to spend the extra money there too.
No, you could buy like 5 or 6 drip coffees with that. Don't worry.
Right. So, but
Drips
go
for
buy
the people.
Buy the CDs, man. Buy the download at least. Go to a show because that's the best way to connect with these guys on a personal level. And so thanks to these guys for being here tonight. Hang out a minute, and I'm going to wrap it up now.
Okay.
Real quick show notes. Thursday night, we're back at 10 p.m. Eastern. Dennis from Analog Archives and I are doing a 2 for Dad episode. We're doing King Diamond. I've got them. He's got The Eye. And then we're doing Merciful Fate. I've got Melissa. He's got Don't Break the Oath. And that'll be the head-to-head on that. And then we're into the next week, and we'll see what's going on. Trying to get the Medusa's Disco guys on. And then I got a special at the end of the month, man. Very special guest is coming to join me to talk about that really weird, eclectic Norwegian band. I'm not going to say their name. You have to think about it. All right, guys. See y'all.
See ya.
Thanks.